Alright, folks, welcome to week 9 of the Eternal Super League Season 2. We are back. This is our last week for this season, so we'll definitely crown a winner for tonight, and we'll know the definitive standings by the end of the week, by the end of the broadcast, rather. We have three storylines I want you to focus on for tonight. Starting from the top, we have OF 1515 currently 7-0, so 14-0 rather, currently undefeated all the way through. They have one more match to play tonight. They're playing against Knight from Chess, and we'll see if OF can keep up the impossibly long winning streak that is being on, and close out the league completely undefeated. Right below them, we have Jai, second place, 27 points, and currently holding strong in second place with by one match over Augustus Caesar. Unfortunately for Jai, he has already played all 8 of his matches, and he has to go through his bye week tonight. So he won't be able to defend or extend the lead he has currently, and it's up to Augustus Caesar and Sidero to try and catch up to Jai by getting as many points as possible. On a interesting turn of event, Augustus Caesar and Sidero are playing against each other this week. It's the last matchup they both have is playing against each other. So we know for sure that at least one of them will be able to catch up to Jai, and it might come down to tiebreakers to see who ends up taking the second place of the podium and who slips down in third place. Lastly, we have the bottom five of our players, all the way between Thoron all the way through Ace Empress. These players are very close, a couple of match wins between each other. They're all fighting tonight to stay in the top 6 and requalify for a possible ESL Season 3. And so each match counts for these 5 contestants. They're all playing tonight, so you'll see them all play in a second. To help us commentate through this week, I have my good friend Aksu. Aksu, say hi to the stream.
Hello, big fan of Eternal here. Happy to watch the stream today.
Wonderful. You're also coming out to the players, so we have everything working as intended. What are your thoughts about the standings on at the end of week 8? Anything you want to add to the?
I think you played it out pretty well. Kind of sad that we didn't get like a really spicy grand finals today, but still happy to watch some Eternal, and all the standings are going to be really important. And I think next time we need to like handicap or 15-15 or something.
That makes some sense, definitely. Alrighty, then without further ado, let's jump into our first match of the day. With Mezzi playing against Dungeon Mixer. Mezzi on the Haley. She's been piloting for a couple of phases this time against Dungeon Mixer's Sports Medal combo that we've seen pop off a few times already.
Yeah, kind of a dangerous take on the corp side. Just can kind of score out from anywhere after the runner has gathered some cards on the score area, but first needs to set up that. And I think Haley might be a key opponent in that. Haley probably has some serious amount of tech that we can get on table. Also, probably one of the best decks to actually get Clot on the table with all sorts of like low-key messed up interactions.
Yeah, I gotta watch out for that Clot coming down from hand, heap, maybe the stack even with a self-modifying code. We'll see if Mezzi managed to find the influence to slot it in, and if Dungeon Mixer can play around that. Let's start then.
100%.
Looks like Dungeon Mixer keeping the hand, Mezzi mulligan into a lot of economy, and that same old thing could end up being any of the events that Mezzi decided to play. For now, Dungeon Mixer setting up a new remote and getting some money.
Ace of Pawn Shop. I feel like crowdfunding daily cast or crowdfunding Ace of Pawn Shop a pretty nice engine finds the second one also not as important.
Yeah, you're not particularly happy to find the second pawn shop, but it's something you'll be able to discard. And I think the overdraw here to just discard the redundant ace of pawn shop makes sense.
You for sure still play the 3 copies. It's so important to just get your engine rolling up.
Norishida on the side of Dungeon Mixer, who ends up raising a Stell Moon, which is probably stronger even, and just pushing all the way to 3 by installing 3 more cards.
Yeah, install 3, install Moonlight feels like a card that you normally see out of Ob, kinda. And in there, it's just bouncing back, or you install it, and typically with another Ob trigger. And then you get your free counters that way. But here, just pre-installing it, and then just install 3, get the value, and next turn kind of bounce off with it.
Mezzi drawing up into Employee Strike and Film Critic, 2 ways to kind of shut off some part of Dungeon Mixer's ID. Employee Strike not as good as Sports Metal kind of tends to score a lot of agendas and maybe can wash out the current quite aggressively. Film Critic, on the other hand, very good at preventing Sports Metal from gaining money on the steal, but obviously can't stop Sports Metal from rolling on more and more value on a score.
One thing I feel about it, it's that the corp kind of wants to score out in one big burst mostly. So if we see stuff scored from the table, it's going to be like random cheap mega prixes and stuff like that you just lay out it on the table. Hope your opponent access those.
There's an upgrade going on server 2. I wonder if we're trying to set up a combo with maybe a Baker's Brigade or a calibration testing, or if Dungeon Mixer is playing any kind of defensive upgrades like a Monogram Skunkworth to defend some of the key parts of their deck.
Yeah, it's like SMC Parish pretty good at challenging these remote servers. Not probably a lot of stuff to trash in there, but still a good amount of credit generation. Even if you trash like a couple of cards, still definitely worth it.
We can see the value of Haley in gaining a click basically every turn by installing a lot of these cards, and now having to face check the Fairchild. I think we'll expect Mezzi to find a good decoder to deal with this, but FC3, famously a very strong piece of ice you can't deal with without running very early and spending those 3 clicks. All the other options are not as efficient.
Yeah, we did have to spend a decent chunk of Econ to get it actually rest, especially out from the Estelle Moon. So not a horrible trade. Depends a lot on what actually Mezzi has to break this. And
it looks like we're just letting it fire.
You can just trash your stuff. Like if you don't need a second Semmels thing, you can let that trash. You will take 1 core probably here, which is not ideal, but I feel like having to pay 6 already. So that means the breaker probably is something like a Unity, where you would have needed to pay like way over the 6 credits that you use here.
Yeah, 6 credits is not the ideal, but Mezzi knows what she's doing. She probably wanted to keep the self-modifying code to contest something, and now Dungeon Master can use that Fairchild 3 to set up some more important cards, and we'll see what assets end up getting into the server. Yeah, instantly using that server to house a new card, and Mezzi has a very hard time contesting that without spending all her turn.
Ends up selling daily cast for +1 credit. Just a kind of a nice econ boost. Not the biggest deal. And Employee Strike into check the remote. Get all these mega prickers, get all of these other 1 pointers out from under the corpse feet without letting extra sports metal triggers fire. Just a really nice thing to happen. Given 6 credits to the corporation already, just in exchange of 2 points. Feels pretty decent probably for the corporation here. Oh, and Jackson getting rest and popped instantly means that we didn't get our third run for the crowdfunding, so just kind of left stuck there.
Yeah, I was about to mention the same. Dungeon Mixer getting the better of that trade and just uh, preventing Mezzi from getting that little bit of value, and now scoring an ontological using that core damage that we got from Virtual Tree. So while the core damage wasn't as impactful as for the damage part, having more core damage now means Dungeon Mixer can score more and more ontologicals quite quickly. So the game is accelerating very fast, and it all started with that Virtual Tree Raz.
Yeah, 100%. We do have a trick shot that probably lets us challenge something.
Also, we finally find that the coder we were probably looking for with self-modifying code. It's an Angolo, which is it deals with Virtual Tree fairly efficiently, but it is quite expensive to install, and getting it from self-modifying code would have probably bankrupted Mezzi. So that's a very sensible choice to hold on to that. And for now, we're sending the indexing and probably using the trick shot to access two of the cards we'll see. There's a Nightmare Archives and some Agendas, but no points. Just a couple of cards you might want to consider trashing with Rashida and Game Changer. And
I feel like just gonna put Nightmare Archives Domestic Sleepers back on the bottom and just make sure that you never access those. And Trickshot probably going in there, trashing the Game Changer and Rashida. Just get rid of those two problem cards.
Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what we're doing. Pretty being able to help trashing the Rashida, using the credits on Trickshot to trash the Game Changer, and now challenging the dupes that have me to go through a Meridian, a tough one. We'll see. I'm assuming Mezzi is on Paperclip because everybody's on Paperclip in Eternal, but we might see a Propeller or something along the line of a cheaper, more disposable breaker come out of that self-modifying code. Instead, just letting it fire.
Oh, really? Yeah, the problem is like 4 credits or end the run just so tough comparatively. So just has to take it as a minus point, back down to 1 point, and even more charges for the Game Changer here.
Yeah, it feels like you have to press your advantage on the Corpus on 2 credits. You can't let them have all those credits, and Rashida's great for Dungeon Mixer to bounce back instead. Although, like, I want to mention that the very interesting part of indexing into Trickshot is enough to reinstall the crowdfunding back, and then jam another one with Haley. So, quite the interesting shaper tricks there.
Yeah, 100%.
Now Stock Buyback, and now Dungeon Mixer is back in the money. That Rashida finding her the necessary operation to bounce all the way back, and now 2 points plays 1, but Dungeon Mixer has a lot of threatening operation ready to fire with Stock Buyback, Fast Break, or even Game Changer. So we'll see how Mezzi can defuse the situation.
10%. Just selling crowdfundings, a decent chunk of econ. That we will start getting back next and running for 2 crowdfunding triggers, basically 3 runs for 6 credits. Does feel quite nice.
Mezzi on a bit of an MU problem here. Self-modifying code using a lot of MU, so she can't exactly install all the programs she has in hand without losing some value. And we'll have to discard something to hand size here.
Yeah, looks like misdirection and maybe that Propeller or Astablade. I don't assume we're breaking that many eyes during the game, so just working with Angolo probably workable. Up. Oh, and popping SMC to just get a different install here.
That makes sense. Installing something from the deck, using Haley to install one of the programs from hand. So finding a way to clear some of the hand without losing all that value, and putting down the breakers necessary. So now we can contest the Virtual Tree with a little bit of credits, and we'll see if Dungeon Mixer feels safe installing more agendas behind it, or if that server gets abandoned quickly. I would expect, though, to be able to tax the runner with Virtual Tree to be the line for Dungeon Mixer in the near future.
Even one of the most efficient breakers into breaking Fairchild, Angolo's still does pay 5 credits to get through, so not the most happy to go through there. Still probably has to at some point. Jackson Howard, not a card you need to go through for. And probably just maybe challenge server 8 if we challenge something.
The problem with using ASOPs to trash the crowdfunding before they actually expire is that you don't get the draw from the crowdfunding, and I feel like Mezzy would like to get a few more cards here and there to use the Haley trigger. So for now, she has a lot of money. She managed to generate a lot of money that she probably needs. But the side effect is that not getting the draw doesn't help you dig through your deck and find the more cards to stop the Renner's threat. We don't have access to Clot right now because we don't have self-modifying code and any way to install programs at instant speed. So we're getting more points, but the threat of just a game changer into a win is on the horizon for the runner here.
Yeah, already on 4 clicks from the game changer. Probably not enough to score out yet. Maybe with a fast break. Would need a bit more cash probably to make that a functional out here. But Corp kinda in the driver's seat right now with already four agendas on the runner score area.
Yeah, and the 2 core damage helping out the possible combos in the future. For now, it looks like a value fast break. I wouldn't expect Dungeon Mixer to score out with just that. But using the Stillmoon recently res to just get a lot of value, installing as many cards as possible in the same server.
Yeah, everything also triggering Estel Moon, kind of a nice combination there.
Mm-hmm.
Might just be a... Could also now start scoring a Dupe Stud and a 2/2 ontological, just to get that third core machine there. No, just extra eyes. Oh, do we advance? Apparently we do, yeah. The second ontological probably going on the score area. Just Elevagar.
Just Elevagar, but still, yeah. Core damage, the 1 point, the trigger from Sports Medal. I don't expect Dungeon Mixer to de-res anything with the Elevagar trigger, but quite the value.
Just a Jackson Howard for love of the game, you know?
Just to trigger the effect, huh?
You could have like a Laxmi Smart Fabric somewhere there. You never know.
That makes sense. For now, Mezzy getting all the value from crowdfunding, selling one of them to the ASOPs. And this is a tough position to be in. The Corp has just so much value on the board. You have 3 core damage, so every ontological is potentially game. And I feel like if I were in Mezzy's shoes, I would be looking at a multi-access tool to start scoring as many points as possible, like trying to win fast, because that's the way you beat Sports Medal, is going from 4 cards in the score area all the way to 7 points in like the few possible turns, so they can't abuse the cards you have in the score area. And right now it is a tough sell because Mezzy has no multi-access and doesn't have a lot of immune to play around, and now instead deciding to challenge the Jupstat grid.
Meridian getting broken for 5 credits in total. Not the happiest amount, but 5 credits for Meridian still fine, especially with Dungeon Mixer just on 3 credits.
Yeah, the one unfortunate thing is that Parisha doesn't help trashing Jupstat. It only helps trashing assets compared to an Azimuth that would kind of solve the problem for Jupstat at least. And so Mezzy needs to keep a lot of money for that Jupstat. If Dungeon Mixer doesn't have credits,
Meridian.
And that's quite annoying. You have to probably take that as a -1 point again just to deal with the Meridian, or the Corp just bounces back. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, 5 cards in the score area. Kinda iffy there. Can challenge Destal Moon. This can be popped into Res Ice. Would be a 4 to Res Ice at the max. Job doesn't look like we get the res. And now having to think about like how is the runner still winning the game? Like it does look like something. I think the only out here is hitting double ontological. Oh, and Nightmare Archives, a horrible hit here.
That's just not what
Are
you
we
want.
down to 0 agenda points? You.
6 cards in the score area, no points to speak of for the runner. A potential game changer with net 5 more credits for Dungeon Mixer.
Yeah, I mentioned to get the second crowdfunding online, at least, but still has to just find agenda somewhere. Install a card behind ice. Oh, a third Estelle Moon. Just getting 2 triggers here though.
It is enough, I think, for Dungeon Mixer to bounce a little bit back, find the next fast break, and use that one to set up probably a winning combo or something. She only needs a couple of ontologicals, right?
I feel like we need to hit one more stock buyback before we actually can do that though.
That's a possibility, absolutely. We might be missing a few credits. Trickshot is very good. Indexing to Trickshot, once again, very good for Mezzi to find some points. Ideally, sniping those ontologicals, making sure Dungeon Mixer doesn't have access to those.
It's gonna be scary with Estelle Moon at the table. You cannot really put the cards you want on top here. You could put like the bad cards on top and then put Game Changer Elivagar actually in the middle. Kind of interesting.
Yeah,
and does Dungeon Mixer go for the bait here?
Is a game of chicken here. Does Dungeon Mixer...
just the Jackson getting popped. Yeah.
Shuffling makes sense.
Yeah.
Now random access is for the Haley here, who finds the domestic lever not what you need, and then at least finds 1 point, but there's a second Sports Medal trigger in a row. Then Jamis are getting 4 credits off of that single trick shot, and now access to an Estelle Moon, and having shuffled 3 more cards in the deck, it is getting rougher and rougher, and Mezzi only has 1 point to speak of.
Yeah, Estelle Moon also going to get 4 credits, and it's starting to look like a combo turn is approaching. Still probably needs a bit more credits, although with Game Changer in there, we can just probably click for some of them. And now second Nightmare Archives, again being added to score area, a solid 15 cards on the score area already.
This is so rough. I think it's 9 cards in the score area, so 4 that are worth 1 point, 4 that are worth -1 point, and then the domestic lever that's just 0 points. So a good 20% of Dungeon Mixer's deck is in Mezzi's core area, and she has no points still.
Yeah, wonderful life of these minus agendas points. So lovely to see those every time. But just Messi probably not slotting the tech choices for this specific matchup. I think Shadownet or Artist Call used to be kind of staples in here, but not probably powerful enough for Eternal.
Yeah, there are several decks that just don't run a lot of agendas, don't intend to score a lot of agendas, and you don't get a lot of value out of the Shadownet or Data Dealer that you could use here. But Mezzi here having access to any of them, I know she would be ecstatic. A single Data Dealer would just be worth a lot of points and a bunch of money. For now, Dungeon Mixer resolving the fast break, drawing 9, gaining 5 credits extra from after the 4 she paid, and in starting up to 9 cards in the same remote. I wouldn't expect more than a few just to come down, but setting up a possible score window. For now, Mezzi firing up the self-modifying code, putting down the clot, making sure Dungeon Mixer cannot score this right about now. And Dungeon Mixer now has to find a way through that clot, either by purging by hand using that Game Changer, or using a Cyberdex Virus Suite to get rid of the clot. And right now, just using 3 of the clicks that she has to clear that one.
Yeah, just hard purging with the clicks, kind of amazing. Ontological Arella Salvatore does look like it's probably just going to be it here.
Yeah, 5 cards in R&D. We can even draw some of them with sports medal. So finding the last ontological is not going to be hard. And that's exactly what happens. Danger Mixer scoring out the last ontological, getting all the way to 7, closing it out in a single turn through the clot.
Yeah, kind of interesting game. With that, we can probably jump in the next one.
Absolutely. The other side of the matchup, we have Andromeda playing against Industrial Genomics. We've seen Mezzi playing this IG that plays Keeling and Worm Reception to pressure the runner out of cards. And Danger Mixer is playing a Heartbeat, and I'm expecting crowdfunding to fuel that up to prevent damage. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, funny techie matchup here. Heartbeat Andromeda used to be decently popular at some point, kind of fallen off because Desperado kind of is the GOAT, shoutouts. But still a totally functional corporate grant. Kind of got to tax the corporation out. And Transfer of Wealth. This could go any way here.
It's better in Transfer of Wealth. That's an account siphon. I know they're kind of the same cards for.
Yeah, but no duck here means that Mezzi down 0 credits, cannot trust anything, and I would be surprised if this turtleback is still standing. Apparently, this trying HQ, trashing a court guidance, and maybe Mezzi just doesn't have the cards to rest here. Charlotte, Rashida on the table though, gonna help a lot in the bounce back.
Rashida was something I was expecting, something in a Mezzi can't res, and I know she was hoping that one wouldn't get checked. Then Jamaica was saying to run HQ instead of checking the remotes. Means she finds that cohort, but it gives Mezzi a chance to proliferate the board now. Second install, third install, Turtleback's generating 3 more credits, and Mezzi's back on 6 with a lot of cards on the board. No cards to speak of face down in archives for the AG trigger, for the AG tax, but the board is definitely looking scary for now.
Yeah, we do have a second account siphon in hand. Can it send it? Apparently does. Can we do this one though? Not.
Just
we can
credits?
duck some of them. Just, yeah, 2 credits. Bladderboard and Worm Reception. Kind of a 2. At least one of these kind of a win condition in the deck. And
Bladderboard staying up.
Damage.
Bladderboard staying up means the Mezzi can get a bit of credits and deal 1 damage, and the damage hits the perfect card for Dungeon Mixer, landing onto the crowdfunding that I'm sure she will be able to install just by running a few of the servers. For now, Mezzi still cannot find a way to put face down cards in archives. The board has a lot of cards, but we've seen none of them getting over installed just to increase the tax on these thrashes. So very interesting.
Yeah, not yet. Miss Bones comes down, helps a lot in trashing everything.
Dungeon Mixer going over all the cards face up and trying to remove as many as possible. Now challenging Turtlebacks, finally getting rid of Mezzi's economic advantage and getting the crowdfunding back from the heap. Oh,
apparently not. Blacklist blocking everything, not getting the crowdfunding back ever again until that actually at least is trashed.
The rude in chat is absolutely correct. The one of the greatest card to deal with crowdfunding, and now Dungeon Mixer cannot install the resource she was looking for. Now has to face against all these public assets and economic assets that Mezzi has to res without the damage prevention that Heartbeat and crowdfunding would have been able to provide. So it's a trash the class act. So saying goodbye to the filtering effect of the classic just to prevent one of the damage, probably not wanting to lose a breaker or any of the economic cards that she has in hand.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, Kakurembo? We didn't have any poisoned archives cards there though, so I think Dungeon Master can technically just go run back here.
So part of the Kakurenbo effect is that you can trash cards from hand, and Mezzy trashed one card, judging by the chat. So there probably is exactly one piece of damage there. Yeah, there's a shock. Not a lot, not something that Dungeon Master is probably worried about, and just saying goodbye to the Bravado is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
but
I think we're playing that kind of anyway. And now, would have taken note on what's installed on server 9. We cannot. It's a recording of a match, so the stream team does not have the availability to actually check what's in archives. But I think technically a known card on server 9. Oh yeah, the Rashida makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, has to go kill that. And keeping his bones on 1 credit just to keep 1 buffer for a damage here. Kind of funny and interesting.
Very smart. That 1 credit is probably worth less than the card that Dungeon Mixer could be saving, although it will cost her a ton of clicks just by having to click the pay with my credits instead of the misspawns, and now using it right away to tank the damage coming in from Bloodward. Interesting choice to let Mezzy have the 1 extra credit here and just trashing the federal fundraising so that Mezzy can't draw more cards in this.
Yeah, now challenging every remote. Bioethics, still trashable for 3 credits, and yeah, Bloodward also going out, just getting rid of everything. No more crowdfunding in the bean, so the last run might be overzealous. Could just be drawing up. Also, getting the bug altar down does help quite a bit. I'm not sure how much ice we actually are playing, but I believe there are some Bathenemos in here, and maybe a Creek or something.
Yeah.
Omakwa, that's probably our breaker of choice, actually.
I would assume that we'll hit the board at some point, and Dungeon Mixer will not need to break any ice with any actual breaker except for the Omakua. Bugalter's still fine tool at breaking small sentries, so you get some rebate back. But Omakua is going to break everything for pennies.
Killing was 4 to trash? That card is so illegal.
Oh yeah, killing absolute busted of a card. We'll see that 4 now 5 become a probably larger number down the line if Mezzy can manage to install it and force Dungeon Mixer to trash it. For now, Dungeon Mixer doesn't have a lot of credits. Probably looking for the Desperado that helps Criminal in this matchup so much. And now with 4 tags, considering whether the daily cast she has in hand is worth the money that she's gonna spend, maybe trading back to with Mezzy or not.
Interesting. Are we just trying R&D 3 times to get this crowdfunding instead?
Looks like that's a play. You might poke HQ, although Mezzy might be able to res.
Could be dangerous. Apparently not. 1 power reclamation. Again, 3 to trash up to 4, which are not available quite yet.
Oh, and that's points. Finds a hybrid release.
Yeah, kind of a cool one. Can is the political operative might just get trashed, and I don't think political operative goes around the infusion like trash cost. So bit of a sad card, but and drawing up. I feel like we're just digging for our extra card. Oh, and future perfect. Can just kind of both players betting 0. Yeah, Messi probably understanding that Dungeon Mixer would just go and kind of grind the card out of R&D, would tax Messi for 3 credits in a situation where Messi kind of just doesn't have the credits to actually fight those. So giving up on the first go here.
Yeah, absolutely no reason to defend that one. Dungeon Mixer would probably drain Messi of as many credits as possible before attempting to score it. Maybe click 3 or click 4. So Mezzy just giving up the points is usually what happens on R&D when it's not game point and you just don't have enough money. Mezzy finally getting some face down cards in archives and installing something on the table that it looks threatening. Dungeon Master doesn't have a lot of money to deal with it, and not finding the necessary win on the board means she has to probably contest whatever is in here, and that's a court guidance program.
Yeah, that is like 6 to trash. Not a funny number to say.
Yeah, problem is that one will fuel the IG text more and more as Mezzy trashes more cards from hand and gains a lot of credits and draws a lot of cards that will definitely make the board a lot scarier. So not a great position to be in for the Dungeon Mixer, who's sitting at 4 points, so he's basically at game point, but has lost a bit of control over the board that Mezzy finally managed to get back.
Yeah, also a lot of the agendas are really hard to steal. Obokata probably the easiest one right now, if we are playing that. Otherwise, could be Bacterial Program that we just snipe, or Future Products that we also just snipe. So, couple options that are possible. Running Archives, first click. Just sending it in there. A creek being seen. Installs a card, but does not dodge the install cost. Also, 6 strength on Archives, kind of a card that you never break. You just let the corp get one more install.
Yeah, the install here practically free for like impossible for Dungeon Mixer to deal with, even with a decoder possibly. But being able to go through means we get to access our archives, force Mezzy to use that one pot to probably save some cards, take a couple of damage, but reset the IG tags. And now with 6 credits, we can expect Dungeon Mixer to just send it on some of these assets here on the table, trashing as many as possible, slowing down the corp.
The issue is you can want to take out everything. One power reclamation extremely important, otherwise you will never see an agenda again. Also, court guidance program will do the same thing, and everything else kind of bit more extra here. Bloodwort maybe one of these cards that you can leave, at least now.
Yeah, definitely a tough position to be in. Dungeon Master deciding to go for and trash some of the credits and using the political operative as an extra click just to deal with the Wampo. And now that it's cheaper to trash, both players did very little credits, and Dungeon Master just taking the damage from the Blood Award.
Yeah, does get the extra crowdfunding installed. Will get a 1 extra credit. And yeah, that's a card that you really want multiples in the bin for. Rashida on R&D. Can we go back in? Just go check one more time.
Oh, a second Rashida is not what you want to see. You might be able to challenge it next turn if you can find it, but it's definitely a bad sight for Dungeon Mixer, who really does not want Mezzy to have more money. And now the Bioethics and Blood Wars are jamming down, are sending all the damage on Dungeon Mixer, who's will probably be forced to draw a bunch of cards just to survive, and that puts a lot of pressure on finding also the credits to deal with these cards.
You do have the crowdfunding that will churn out some damage protection. Still not an ideal situation. We can go R&D again just to check. Also, if Rashida is on server 16, kind of a must-kill situation here.
Also, I just realized, I don't know how I missed it. Dungeon Master is on Heartbeat, which means we don't have access to Desperado, so no extra money for checking all of these servers is possible at all. Dungeon Master managing to find the Rashida we've seen on top of R&D, and now probably has to just tank the 2 damage. Past priority is hoping to trash the crowdfunding. That doesn't happen. And we'll have to keep up with the damage that comes in. Ideally, maybe trashing one of these damage assets next turn.
Yeah, kind of a tough trash, though you don't really have the credits to do that. Other options, get this class act down. Doesn't look like we do that. accessing a breach dome in R&D, losing out the unity from top of the deck. Wonderful design by FFG, just trashing top card of our stack here.
For what it's worth,
Getting
at
mad at
least.
a card after like 10 years after it has been out is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's definitely a funny situation. For what it's worth, at least Dungeon Mixer lost the crowdfunding from hand, which means she'll be able to install both copies at the end of the turn. But finding more biotics is not what you want to see. Is that 3 damage? Do I see a lethal on board? At least lethal would be if we didn't have Heartbeat to protect us, yeah.
Or double Bladderwort, that's all pretty close though.
We have to say goodbye to at least 2 cards, and we'll probably lose both cards in hand. And Dungeon Mixer losing the crowdfunding, the only way she has to gain more money, means it's unlikely that she'll be able to deal with many of these servers next turn.
Yeah, I think this might be like the prison state that sometimes I've been talking about, where the Corp runner turn might as well be draw 3 or draw 4, and then it just take 4 damage onto the chin, and would be straight lethal.
Not a lot of options here. Silver lining is that Mezzi has to spend money to keep up the Bladderwort damage, but an asset deck, I don't expect that to be a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, probably one of the best to ever do it on that specific front. There is a world where you just like draw 3, draw 2, run HQ, run archives, and just wish. But yeah, just kind of is in a situation where you either die or draw 4, and then you kind of die next turn. So just keep kicking the can down the road here. And
yeah, Dungeon Mixer
has to pick through a tough set of choices. Could find an extra draw card, that is always possible. On going trash, yeah, we can actually trash some of the bioethics. Trashing 1.
Right now, potentially dead. If Mezzi can go to 0, we have to trash the Bogalto just to survive.
They're still probably going to do it. One paw will be protecting all rest of our agendas. I think we have one 3-pointer on bottom of the deck, so a dangerous situation here.
The only option I see for Dungeon Mixer is poking R&D and finding the last agenda, hoping maybe that the Ice on HQ isn't resable, and maybe we can find one there as well. One paw only once per turn, so you can kind of try and poke here and there, make the tax out the one paw to find the points, but it's looking more and more dire.
We can draw 3 and still run 3 different servers.
Cupulation a great find for Dungeon Mixer here. One way to deal with these assets for a little bit cheaper is to go around the tax.
Yeah, drawing 3. Actually, might not be able to duck the Bladderwort credits.
So it's just a single damage coming in from the bioethics.
And maybe giving Dungeon Mixer the space that they needed here. Oh. Mean words in chat.
Looks like we triggered the wrong cards. I'm expecting Mezzi maybe to res the card on server 11.
Yeah, could be I think we saw hostile infrastructure being drawn at some point. So could be just resing that and yeah, hitting those 3 damages.
Yeah, that's kind of a disaster for Dungeon Mixer, losing the whole hand once again. It's more like the slippery slope of this damage IG is that you can't use your clicks to gain credits, you can't use your cards to gain credits because you lose them at the start of the corpse turn, you need them to survive. And now the barrage of damage coming from assets that you just can't afford to trash keeps on going. And if Mezzi can find any way to close out the deal by reducing hand size aggressively or just installing something that prevents Dungeon Mixer from drawing, could just spell the end of the game for our runner.
Yeah, luckily we can always install 2 cards while running 3 times. So click for a draw and run 3 servers is enough to survive 3 instances of damage. But if you hit a shock ever, you lose the game. If you hit anything else ever, you just lose the game. And I feel like a lot of the agents are bottomed out here.
Yeah, you would expect
2 more
Wampoa
instants.
to hide all the critical points, and with 0 credits, then Jamister cannot even attempt to steal a future perfect, except if it's repeatedly accessed from the top of R&D.
If you actually run R&D, see the top card of the deck, and that's a future perfect, you can just run it 3 times. That is a out. Drawing forest just to survive a shock.
And that's exactly what she
Oh
finds.
no. That actually, I think, is lethal here. Just 2 clicks left, 3 instances of damage coming up.
If there's a
Cannot
third
get any of the shock.
crowdfunding in the bin, I don't remember, there's a chance that Ninja Mixer might just be able to install all 3 and block 3 damage.
No, I believe we have just seen 2, so server 20 and 21 both being checked up. But yeah, probably not enough. Would be a surprise to see agenda installed here. Yeah, doesn't look like it. Will install 2 copies of crowdfunding, but 3 instances of damage are coming up, so. Yeah, Messi managing to fight through the heartbeat. It did look kinda suspenseful early on, but this situation kind of setting up the lock with 4 instances of damage and runner duking low enough.
Oh,
Oh,
one more
we still
chance.
survive. You can trash the heartbeat? Oh, that's kind of funny.
One last resource is trashing the heartbeat to itself to prevent the last damage. Dungeon Master gets one more turn to possibly run R&D, although you have to fight through a federal fundraising, and any kind of damage you find on top of R&D will kill you. So any shock that Messi just put on top of R&D with that fundraising is lethal. So the chances of finding an agenda are slim to none. But then Jimmy's trying her best to at least find all the possible outs here, getting all the as small as an EV as possible as this play would generate.
Yeah, with the heartbeat gone, I think we just have one more turn. And good luck. That's the only thing I have left.
Magic clicking for credits means the Bloodword's offline, and there's no way to duck that
bro,
one.
you don't have a duck here. So just 1 damage coming in. Probably it's tough to actually get through anything after it though.
Here we have the customary 30-second pause as the runner thinks about all the possibility that Rebirth has in Criminal here. Zaya makes sense if you need to generate some amount of money from running. Steve is also a possibility, gets you a few more
Liza
cards.
is a lot of draws. If you need just to get a draw online.
That was a good idea. Although we only have 9 more cards in the stack, and I wouldn't expect Dungeon Mixer to be on something like a Levy or an Ashen Epilogue to get all those cards back. So Liza would be limited to a couple of runs at best.
Would mean that we need to specifically start finding out our if Messi gets into a situation where they just see 2 agendas on top or 3 agendas on top or something with the federal and cannot protect everything, or even 2 if we have a second copulation that comes in. Could be saving the day, but
goes for Lamary Fisk in an attempt to force Messi to draw through the R&D and maybe find the agenda that sits behind whatever is on top of R&D.
That is kind of wild.
Finding a way to play around the federal fundraising now. Single damage coming in. Dungeon Master has to take that one, but no more Bloodword damage means she probably has a couple more turns to breathe. And the
Yeah.
R&D is not getting thinner because of Wampoa, but it's still holding on somewhere now, probably closer to the bottom middle of the deck. All the points you need to win the game. We'll see if Dungeon Mixer can get all the way there or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Wampoa being your only recursion means you don't get to cycle back all the bioethics you've used earlier. And so Mezzi might have a hard time getting more persistent damage. So without the Blutterwort, Dungeon Mixer has a chance to like survive a few more turns actually.
And can you just one per reclamation the cards back?
I mean,
Like if you want pop back the bioethics, that is a some sort of a clock that you're putting on the runner, because this is not looking like it's it.
I mean, you would be, but that would go on the bottom, probably closer. Like it would be farther away from the agendas that win the game for Dungeon Mixer.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, this is why you're a really gamer and start counting the cards that opponent one per reclamations back in the deck, so you can like know when the agendas are coming back up.
Yeah, Dungeon Mixer would have to go through the chat, start trying to figure out the order of R&D for now since the last time it has been shuffled, and maybe count where the agendas would be, when to find them. For now, Keeling looks like it's the card that gets added to the bottom of R&D, and that would be another way that Mezzi can use to win the game.
Install 3 does look like Blutterwort probably going to get funding next turn. And that would spell disaster for Dungeon Mixer.
Yeah, Dungeon Mixer does not have the option to survive all those damage. If you wait a full turn and just draw up not to die, it's unlikely you get more and more turns. Dungeon Mixer might have to pull the trigger here and find the top of R&D, check top R&D, use Fisk to force the corp to draw through whatever has been put on top, and ideally find the points behind that.
Yeah, going in and checking.
Finds a core, not what you're looking for. Now you
I
have to
don't think
imagine.
we did use the Larmy Fisk in a some sort of a mind game situation here. Turbobucks nothing. Does allow Messi to dunk on the credits though. So Federal Fundraising doesn't. So could be still safe, depending on what is in the hostile architecture. That will be 3 damage after the rest of that and the Turtlebucks.
Everything gets res. Dungeon Mixer out of ways to prevent the damage, even with the crowdfunding coming back.
But Heartbeat not installed, so does look like it is it.
Well played for both of our players. A corpse split in the end. Standing don't move a lot after this game. But a very well fought on both sides. Starting very hot on Rhino's side, keeping the board clear, and Mezzi slowly but surely getting back into it, installing a few more cards, getting some amount of tax with the IG tax, and managing to control top of R&D and making sure that she's not gonna leak the last 3 points, and then slowly but surely closing it out.
Yeah, just kind of grinding it out.
Alrighty, that was our first match. Let's see what the future has in stock for us with our next match. We have Ace Empress playing against Toron.
I think this might be one of the matches that is about surviving the top half or to the top half of the tournament and still staying in guaranteed for the next season and not having to fight through a qualifying tournament. That if the same system is kept for next year.
Yeah, this matchup definitely important for the bottom part of the standing, so people trying to keep into the league, not having to requalify for next year. And the matchup is the classic Cabernet Wood that we've seen Toron play, fighting off against a Titan who starts with a nice R&D, an upgrade on HQ, and a Violet level clearance. Amazing card to draw a lot of cards, get a bunch of credits, and set up for a possible fast lines next turn, which is something we've seen Titan do a lot back in Standard and now definitely in Eternal.
Yeah, upgrade HQ is interesting. It does look like a what's the card called? Crisium Grid or a flagship or something. Not sure what other stuff you would have. Considering the run-on Archives for the World Trade doesn't want to interact with upgrade on HQ.
I mean, a Crisium Grid would stop World Tree from triggering, and that would be...
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It would definitely be annoying for Toron to go through. So Toron deciding to use the turn to set up, not challenging HQ, letting whatever upgrade is on HQ stay, and we'll see if the turn of reprieve that Ace Empress got is enough to like maybe push the first agenda out, or set up extra more money and cards to keep a fast line going. For now, too big to fail coming down, 7 credits, 1 bad publicity, and 1 card in the remote that Toron might be thinking about challenging here if he has the money and the cards to do so. For now, accesses HQ, or just challenges HQ and has to face off against the Crisium Grid we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, trashing with bad publicity and normal run. Still can go HQ, get your World Trade trigger because you didn't have a successful run yet. And installing a second World Trade, yeah, just second one coming down. And the engine is starting up pretty quickly here. 12 credits, advancing, scoring a off the books, not a Atlas, a key difference in there. It has the same functionality, but not the same still.
Yeah, not exactly the same. You'd rather have the Atlas because it gives you a little bit more of agency on when to use it. For now, Ace Empress starting to score off the books that still finds you either an agenda you might keep in hand or install on the board, or find a an operation to fast advance whenever you find the agenda for the next score.
Yeah, 100%.
Ace Empress here thinking through a line, decides to find a Sapper. That's something that will at least make sure Toron can't run HQ safely, because trashing any program is definitely going to be annoying. Trashing that single Shahrazad will make the whole 3 collapse. And you can tell that's something that Ace Empress put in the deck because she knew if they were going to play against Toron in this phase. So you can see the players adapt and kind of predict what their opponent's gonna bring. And with Toron is a safe pick, I think, that you will have to face off against this Cabernet Zabu.
Yeah, 100%. Now sending in a double World Tree. What are we getting here? Options maybe something that lets you actually deal with the Sapper in hand, so you can actually go and run it in there at some point. Via Lamb getting installed, and the second World Tree installing on top of a resource. Interesting choice. Couple of Blue Moose just getting credits. Another option was like Aron Maroon, because there will be a lot of agenda scored. That would have been a huge draw engine. But the Blue Moose does make sense. You just do need a baseline of econ during the game.
Yeah, Blue Moose. With all the cards that Toron is going to trash throughout the game, Blue Moose is never going to run out of fuel, and that's going to be a couple of credits every turn. The 2 daily cast in hand also probably going to provide some more credits. So I wouldn't expect Toron to run out of money anytime soon, but he has to keep up with the pace that Ace Empress is putting on. Second Eyes on the remote, another card in the remote might just turn into an Atlas or the next off the books or something. So Toron in a bit of a time pressure here.
Yeah, 100%. Cannot really challenge this remote server. We do probably know one Zapper might be on there. So a tough challenge. Shasharad getting credit and Muse just coalescing it up. Will we have two different triggers on the world tree? And just getting a Mayfly that will be a functional breaker later on. Other option, Echelon, will be enough to break the thing.
Yeah, Torn looking for something that breaks the Sapper just in case. Slowly but surely building the rig that the Doom rig that Shaper can assemble here. Yogg into Echelon into Turbine plus some kind of Fractor. But I just deciding to go for a DAG Deer, so more MU, maybe installing something expensive or at least more MU costly on there. And it looks like the Brahman comes down. That great AI that goes through any eyes, but requires a little bit of programs to put back on top. And Ace Empress finds the time to just score another off the books, getting all the way to 4 points.
Sadly, off the books again. Not Atlas. Like, I feel like people at the start were kind of like, oh, you have Titan with 6 Atlases, but off the books, not proving to be it quite yet. Getting a copy of like Audacity could be nice though.
Yeah, off the books just a little bit less flexible than Atlas. Although for now, proving that Ace Empress can still get through, can still generate all the cards necessary. They just need to find one more agenda maybe to really put the pressure on Torn. I feel like it's a time battle for both of these players. Ace Empress wants to score as fast as possible because Torn could put down a rig that can just challenge all the servers and potentially maybe with a clot keep the fast advance out of the picture. And on the other hand, Torn really needs to assemble breakers good enough to get in these servers so that Ace Empress cannot just slam another agenda on the board, advance the next turn, and keep windmilling agendas over and over and over.
Then Corp thinking about maybe using off the books here, or
yeah, it looks like we're deep into the decision tree of the off the book.
Yeah, just had to I went to hover over the video player here just to check that time is still rolling on and we're just not sitting here looking at the blank screen.
That's a good
definitely
idea.
A challenging choice here. I wonder if you are getting a Atlas or something could be super important.
I think here Ace Empress is thinking whether Faye needs to find a fast advance tool like
Rashida getting installed on the remote. Yeah, a card you definitely need to take care of.
Torn has a lot of credits. 14 is quite a bunch, but he doesn't have a lot of programs that he can just use to to feed Brahman to get into server 1. He would need to find a Muse potentially from Caboneza.
Yeah, Muse and Coalescence into Bron. Then you have stuff to feed for Brahman, and you can break a second card with Lamb. Could be kind of important, like powerful here. Yeah, looks like Muse getting installed on the Shasharad and getting just an extra copy of Coalescence. Does mean you have 15 credits, and I think this remote server is getting attacked. Pikachu getting installed? Does give you extra click, interesting.
Yeah, Torn here also, I think, thinking forward about the fact that he needs the programs or he needs something to trash the world tree probably to generate more value. You don't want to waste the turn not getting more things on the board, so maybe using the Pishasao and the Muse to get some amount of value anyway. For now, shuffling or rather putting the Muse back on top, getting a click through Pishasao, continuing the run through server 1, trying to get to the Rashida, and now having to break the border control using Lamb this time around.
And now the choice of getting Pikachu in there just ending up being so powerful. That extra click is going to add up huge. Popping border control is just not enough when Toron can just kind of get back in here. Sapper getting broken for 4 crits with Lamb or 2 of Brahman. And yeah, just breaking it, getting an extra click back, and we'll get a bunch of triggers. Daily Cats getting sold into just Lagos, hella extra draw coming up. And do we have a resource version of the cloth? Maybe the new Word on the Street or the older copy of the source? Doesn't look like we have either.
All valid option for now. Torn looking through the options of resources he has in the deck. A reminder: we're not playing right now with cards from Vantage Point, so the players don't have access to those. We won't be seeing
cool.
Borderlands Street for now. But yeah, finding the Laguna Velasco, getting the extra draw, finding more cards to install, because Torn has been a bit pressured out of cards to install because of the threat that Ace Empress is putting on him. And now Ace Empress double advancing another card and scoring hostile takeover, going all the way to 5, gaining more money. Third bad publicity, which is not great for them, but in a position with 5 points to maybe score out next turn if Torn can't stop Ace Empress.
Yeah, what are we getting here? Illumination being sent in. Oh, when border control will end the run.
Quite the tough ice to find. You'd love to use that illumination, also especially because the illumination probably goes into install 3 things, and 2 of which you don't really care for, through which you're just selling to the World Trees. And now Torn doesn't have the clicks to install all the cards he wants to and then turn them into more useful things. So Torn doesn't have, I think, as far as I can tell, access to a clot right now, unless he runs with World Tree and sucks some of the programs he has on currently installed to find the fast advance prevention.
Yeah, there is an extra Brahman, extra World Tree being sent into a Lilipad, even more draw coming up. And Brahman SMC will be more actively defensive than just a clot by itself.
Absolutely. Clot is something you may not want to find right away because it ends up being purged if Ace Empress decides so, and then you need Ardwars to bring back. So definitely find Clot definitely the correct choice for Toron here.
Yeah, the self-modifying code a huge problem for Ace Empress. I have been looking at the turns, and I feel like at one of these turns has to be run R&D, and not sure if we have a Pikachu, but getting that online, cracking the remote could be really powerful. Operative planogram, drawing 3. Yeah, just need to find some multi-access somewhere. And the install behind Sapper that will be killed at some point. Does take a bit of time though. Install, doing Governance Woo, undo click. Are we doing something else first here though? In the groove will be a decent chunk of draws. especially combined with everything else we have.
Look at all the triggers that the single install is now generating. The credits from Shahrazad, the intergroup draw, the Muse install, Lilliput draw, all these pieces of the engine just humming well together.
Yeah, just missing the technical writer here as one of the options. Finding a Ghost Runner, kind of a blank card, sadly. Otherwise, Principia getting installed. Will draw no one card of the. No, never mind. Running and running in.
Ghost Runner
Will be broken for 4.
Ghost Runner, I think, funny enough, a card that does not use the fact that it's stealth whatsoever in the deck. It's just resource that generates some amount of money and then gets trashed to Wiltry. And now,
Yeah, I believe so. Kind of funny. And all of this is coming down onto the fact, like, does Ace Empress have a way to play through the cloth? If yes, Torrent's days are getting numbered, but if no, it's looking quite tough here.
the rough part is that Torrent, I think, has access to Sacrificial Construct, and if that hits the board, playing through the cloth becomes a lot harder because you have to purge the cloth multiple times in a single paid ability window, and that's something that some decks just cannot do. A Fast Defense deck usually prepared to fight through some resistance, but Ace Empress might have to give up a few points just to get the clock on board and try to slowly consume the tools that Torrent has access to.
I'm like looking at this portrait and I feel like we're playing with fire, not just installing everything that helps the engine, like off the cloth, like where you just like don't let the corpse score ever. Because if we just get a way to play through it, Torrent just loses this turn. And last turn we spent a click for in the groove, drawing us a couple cards, getting us a bunch of credits. But you already have 21. Like, do you need more? How greedy can you be?
Yeah, it feels like Torrent might be playing with fire, might be feeling a bit too secure with that self-modifying code. But Ace Empress definitely just a few clicks away from winning the game, and now Torrent forced to find the clock. We'll see if Ace Empress has a way to just purge that clock now and score whatever is in server 2, or if we're just baiting the clock out so we can purge it outright and maybe force Torrent to find more ways to represent the clock threat next turn.
Yeah, doesn't look like we have anything. Can in this position can just kind of just start pitching out some points. Oh, an ice going on top feels tough. Turn on 20 credits, so can go and trash this probably.
Yeah, I can't think of a single ice that might keep Torrent out at this point. So it's just a matter of installing all the resources, installing enough things to trash to Worldtree, and just attacking the server, even putting the hush on it for good measures in case it is a border control or something.
And his Empress on 5 credits. Doesn't look like it's enough. Breach and selling the telework contract for sacrificial construct. The hardware resource that looks most like the hardware in the history of the game.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that's a resource for sure. And then finding Yaramur in time to steal the agenda, getting the possible draw next. I think Ace Empress here in a bit of a bind.
Yeah, Toyin was conceding. which, to be fair, is kind of fair at this point. We have gone through a couple Jacksons, we have gone through a lot of our agendas, and probably no way to get through Sacrificial Construct and Clot.
Yeah. Ace Empress trying out, like, hoping that Toron would have found the cards that he needed in the deck in hand, so he couldn't install the Cloud. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Trying out the line, but yeah, Ace Empress, I think, giving up at this point. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is unfortunately where the game ends. I couldn't find a game-ending screen in the recording, so I think the players just stopped the game right here, and Ace Empress conceded the game here.
Yeah, tough game to fight through. The situation after the Clot comes down is just kind of a checkmate situation. If I would be brave enough to quote a notable player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see if Ace Empress can pick up the win here on the flip side, playing against Toron's Nebula. We have the Turbo Deep Dive Arisana that Ace Empress has proposed a couple of times throughout the league.
Yeah, Arisana versus Nebula definitely needs to go fast. I feel like Arisana is the deck that probably can do that. Kinda, it's similar to the combo that we used to see, but doesn't do as much of an explosive start.
Now DDoS comes down, and I think DDoS is the one card that's a bit of a tell for Toron. We know now for sure that the Arisana is more of a combo-oriented runner, trying to close out the game very, very fast. For now, assembling a bit of a defensive state, putting down an upgrade on HQ, usually a Crucium Grid 1 second here, to prevent the flip back on the Nebula text, and also stopping the successful run from happening, so Ace Empress cannot fire the deep dive.
Yeah, 100%. Sitting back a bit, just to drawing up, installing cards. Astroblade probably getting like 2 draws at this game, still worth for a 1 credit console. And Propeller does do some interesting install advance without using the Nebula to get the 3rd click.
That smells to me like either a Bellona you don't really want to steal right now, because you would probably get HHN to Oblivion. So maybe Toron setting up a bit of a fork where Ace Empress does not have a very correct choice of either stealing it or letting it on the board.
People can break this for 2 credits, and then you do have the trick shot for 4 credits for the Bellona still if you want to go on the remote here. Stigma Astro and a Turnpike. And going after the remote, if the Bellona getting up to 5 points on a single click.
And still 7 credits in for Ace Empress means we have enough to survive a potential HHN next turn. Even actually, we have more credits in the corpse, so we can't even land the Thrace for HHN.
Click for credit HHN does do something. Mid-season replacement that will give a bunch of tags if Ace Empress doesn't pay into it. Can just go by 1 also.
Here the question.
Like, this is the most fucked part about mid-season replacement. Like, if you don't pay, you just get like turbo tagged.
Yeah, the options here are pay as much as you possibly can, and then fight it in you to just clear the last 2 tags, or don't pay at all. Consider the fact you'll be tagged forever. The only silver lining is that Toron is on 0 credits at this point. He'll get 1 by flipping the identity at the end of the turn. But yeah, Ace Empress probably tagged for the rest of the foreseeable future.
Yeah, Savior, like Toron could have some Savior cards, Market Forces would be a savior, or bigger picture, but looking like Ace Empress sending it in, getting 2 clicks with overclock, trick shot, or 2 axes with overclock,
One
and
thing
just
that
floating the
Torn,
tag.
I think, might have overlooked is that going all the way to 0 means he cannot res the Crisium Grid on HQ. And obviously also cannot pay for this Archangel. So there's a chance that Ace Empress can actually fire the deep dive this turn.
Yeah, does look like it. That we are actually threatening it at least. Going Archives, and yeah, going HQ at last. A Spin Doctor getting accessed, and probably trashed. And Deep Dive does get us our last 2 points. And just, yeah, decisively just attacking super early, and Trick Shot getting us enough cash to be able to be safe in stealing the Bellona.
Yeah, Torn a bit of an aggressive line, letting that Bellona stay on the board. It landed enough tags to possibly win the game in a second, but the Ace Empress just having the access to the deep dive and closing out the games before the tag threat actually manifested itself. Torn maybe taking a bit too of an aggressive line. And this ends up being a runner split once again, so the standings not moving all that much, keeping the bottom 5 players kind of locked in there. The last one we haven't seen is Knight Francesco, who's going to be playing with against OF 1515 in a moment. For now, this is our 4th game, our 2nd match of the day. I'll thank you, Axel, for being here with me. I think if you'll bounce out in a second, any shout out for the last week of the ESL you want to make?
Just people should go and listen to the King's Court podcast. I heard it's kind of fun for at least some people to listen to. And with that, I will go build my decks for tomorrow's meetup and go to sleep. See ya.
Hello, stream. I mean, the league's been pretty interesting. I think the fact that it's been a bit of a foregone conclusion is very cool from the perspective of just how well it's gone for 1515, but like obviously it's a little bit anticlimactic. I was enjoying coming into this end bit of the league just for like the battle of seeing if I could, because I had a few rough weeks, seeing if I could battle my way up a little bit in the rankings. But it's been really interesting. I feel like it's been very diverse in an interesting way, with lots of different decks and lots of different deck archetypes, which has just been really cool.
Yeah, I have to agree. We've seen a lot of like diversity come out. Some people sticking to their guns. Obviously, Torn like playing World Tribute all the way from day 1 to the week 9. That's the same thing he has done last season, for example. So some people like really loving some of the decks, but then switching it up on the other side. And we've seen a lot of diversity. Also, the changing in points definitely had an impact on what the people wanted to bring for phase 3. Has that impacted your deck building for phase 3 in any particular way?
So it definitely did a little bit. I mean, before the ESL, I have played CI, and like specifically like CI 2+5/7 in every Eternal tournament I've played in. And I was playing that the first 3 weeks. And I just had the worst set of CI games. But I was like, oh, I'll go back into it on the last 3 weeks. The sports combo was supposed to be my fun middle deck. And then the points list dropped. And suddenly my deck had been pointed out. And I went, oh, you know what? Swombo's fun. And so I abandoned CI. And I think you can still build CI, but it's definitely a little bit trickier than it was. So yeah, that's definitely caused me to stick with Spombo, which was, I mean, Sports Combo was definitely a good choice because I won all 3 of my Corp games in this last 3 bits, I believe. So
I mean,
probably a good thing for me.
I for one am very happy that we've seen Spombo. One of my favorite decks is definitely the high that you get from scoring all the points. Also, like the different ways you can build it between all the interesting small agendas that HP has access to. Whether you go for core damage or you go for a more calibration testing line, like we've seen in the past. And I think there's enough deck building diversity where you can build up to something interesting, and it just plays in a very different way.
Absolutely, and I don't know, it's just some of the most fun you can have. It's so tense as the Corp because you desperately want the runner to steal agendas, but there's a point where you're in real trouble if you're not careful. But when you do successfully get to pull off like tricks with Meridian to try and force them to take it as negative points, it just feels so good.
Alrighty, let's jump into the first game here. I'll pair up with you to comment the first game we have, which is the first side of Knight from Chess playing against OF 1515. We have OF on the max, running into the PE from Knight from Chess, who I think is I might be wrong, but I think is undefeated playing this Corp.
Yeah, I mean this PE deck it's just miserable. It's such a misery generator, and I will never forgive Knight from Chess for building it. Because it's just relentless, tiny pricks of damage. And I've tried a couple different decks into it. I haven't managed to beat it against them. And this is the slightly. I think they've since built a couple different versions of it that they like. But yeah, it's a mean old deck.
Yeah, the amount of surprise damage that came out of this PE is wonderful. For now, OF trying to deciding not to use all the Chisel. So this is a bit of a ice destruction deck, but probably calling out Knight from Chess as playing a deck doesn't have a lot of ice, and installing the Keel, the one way the deck wins, finds points aggressively, and ideally maybe exploiting the fact that Knight from Chess is not going to have a lot of ice on R&D, and for now having to face off against double Bloodward.
Yeah, I think the one thing you might want ice destruction for is Kakugo, which you do not want to have to run through multiple times. And so, but with a Keyhole, you can probably just snipe them out of R&D anyway. So you're probably okay. But yeah, those double Bladderwort and 3 more assets, and almost definitely one of those is a hostile something. It's just rough. Oh, okay.
For now, finding a Philotic Entanglement, the touch-ups that we've seen be the protagonist of so many of Knight from Chess killed, and the hostile you were talking about. So expecting Knight from Chess to be able to bounce, to duck down to a few credits to get the extra damage, and OF deciding to find the point and just slam again into R&D.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to trash all 3 of those, don't you? That was not an easy choice to be able to make. And so hostile infrastructure, that triggers off of. Does that trigger off Keyhole?
I am not exactly sure, but we're about to find out, and it looks like it does. So hitting, unfortunately, for Knight from Chess, the Steel Skin, so OF bouncing back 2 more cards. And we'll see if OF has any play. And we've seen 2, what's his name? The Rumor Mill hit the bin, and now OF playing this kind of cat and mouse game by asking for actions here, forcing the Spin Doctor right away. So Knight from Chess cannot wait at the last minute to shuffle the agendas back.
Yeah, it's always a rough one, and it's such I enjoy the way that action can be used as a sort of a bluff to try and get your opponent to take actions that you want them to take. It's reminding it. All it is reminding them they have a window, but at the same time, it's such a sort of suggestive thing to type in chat because they know, you want them to take that window realistically.
Yeah, I don't want to call it bullying because it comes out with a bit of a stigma, but it's kind of that, like forcing your opponent to make it to use an action before they would like to, because you have a possible threat in hand.
But like, this is so much like the nature of Netrunner. It's a game that's all about these like hidden information. What can your opponent do at what points? And I've definitely chosen not to do a spin doctor when someone's at action to me in the hopes that they're bluffing me, and then they play the rumor mill and I cry. But I think sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to call the bluff. Sometimes you know it's beneficial for you. Sometimes the odds of them having the last card they need to stop you is low. For now, OF trying to fight through the board. Knight for Chess has been doing a great job presenting more and more threats, and even without the tax that IG would be able to use here, OF just doesn't have a lot of credits, and now finally finding the last copy of the rumor mill, shutting down the Fat, but not the other two cards. Austin Infiltrator and Bloodward, both not unique, so both still very alive and keeping the damage up.
I think that's sort of the interesting thing, is that rumor mill turns off a couple key-ish cards in this deck, but there's honestly quite a lot of cards that just aren't unique, that are absolutely miserable. Just we've all done it. None of us can count really.
Yeah, it's also the classic Hostile Infiltrator costing one more credit, I think, or a couple more credits than Hostile Architecture to trash. So if you're playing a lot of standards, sometimes you miss out on the finer changes between cards that look very similar between FFG and NSG.
Yeah, it's Hostile Architecture is a fun nod to Hostile Infrastructure in terms of just being very similar cards, just ever so slightly differently balanced in a way that's quite meaningful. But it's very funny in Eternal where you get to play both of them. And then we've got, what's that just been erased?
Fortunately, we're missing out a bit of information as hasn't scrolled the chat. And there we go. We see a enforced curfew hit the board, just a couple of clicks for credits on Knight from Chess. And now OF has to play with one less hand size, trying to find ways to trash the board. Having access to 7 credits thanks to the moshing, now enough funds to trash some of the important cards, but the FUT is still there to present maybe a combo line that kills the runner in the future.
Yeah, and like, oh, okay, we got a nice lucky bounce back there as well, which is quite helpful. But there's just so many things to trash, and I was finding that against granted, IG makes those trash costs even more painful, but it's keeping your tempo up to be able to get the credits to trash everything when you're not playing as Wiz is so difficult. But the other thing here, so OF 1515 is out of deck, which is a very dangerous thing in this matchup.
Yeah, I wanted to mention it as well. We have access to a single labor rights that has to shuffle back at least one of the Ashen Epilogues that are in the heap right now. That's the only way to get some cards back. OF going for double Ashen Epilogue instead of playing maybe a single copy of Levy, deciding that the extra recursion is necessary. And now looking to get maybe a rumor mill, although checking out and figuring out that it doesn't work on the printed version of Museum of History. Museum of History obviously errata to be unique, so it will end up shutting down the recursion engine that Knight from Chess has on the board.
Yeah, it's the slightly tricky thing of remembering some small erratas on FFG cards for Eternal is quite tricky.
Yeah, there's a few very notable ones that are very important. Right now, Knight from Chess on a bit of a low credit count. And OF has been able to put the pressure on the board and trashing all the economy assets. So waiting for a bounce back card, possibly a Rashida, maybe another Bloodward. As we've seen OF being a bit worried about running face downs, and the Arc Lockdown preventing future rumor mill is quite important.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen I'm surprised we didn't Ashen last time, because if one of those face downs was a surprise piece of damage, that could have spelled disaster there. I don't know if I can't remember if 1515's checked either of those. But if one of those was a piece of damage that we weren't expecting, and the Ashen goes out of hand, that would have been. We had a labor right still, I guess. So we have to take 2 out.
Yeah, the backup.
Cheeky,
yeah, the backup in hand just in case. I think I have thinking through the lines, realizing they don't have to spend more cards than necessary. And now first Ashen comes down, and I think removes the second copy. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that is. Oh yeah, definitely. That's. Well, there we go. We can't go through the deck another time then. We have to win on the next 22 cards of deck.
Very limited amount of cards, especially because Max will eventually just mill you out by itself. So the ID is going to erode the deck very quickly. It's a lot of value that OF is going to have access to, but not a lot of cards to play around the PE and the potential chip damage that are coming down from the Corp deck.
I didn't spot it when Heat was revealed, but I wonder if 1515's on Rebirth here, because being able to rebirth into something like Wiz might be quite nice, just to keep those cards not in the heap.
I didn't see it either, so I don't think there's a rebirth, although will be corrected as soon as something similar shows up. For now, Devil Charm not getting used, the Chisel just pushing Ablative Barrier all the way down to 0, and then OF just running back with Keyhole, trashing the eyes, and finding a Nobukata protocol. One of the ways that OF can get can close the game out quickly before he runs out of cards. Interesting choice here to go for the Obokata right away. It's a moment where OF has a ton of cards in hand. They're going to have to trash some of those, and instead just uses the extra cards in hand to secure the Obokata, gets the first 3 points, has to tank the damage from PE, but gets to clear the current away. So keeping 5 cards in hand, 14 in the deck. The count is going lower and lower, and the clock is ticking for the runner.
Absolutely. I mean, there's only 14 cards left on the stack, and we've seen how much damage this PE can output. And I mean, we still have to seal minimum 2 more agendas, which that's only 2 net damage, but that's assuming that Knight from Chess doesn't get any more damage off from other things, or we have to steal an Obokata. Oh, I hate PE. I'm so glad PE's rotated. I said the opposite to this the other day, but no, I'm so glad PE's rotated from standards.
It is a polarizing idea, and definitely something that makes you feel the emotion it brings out are as wide of a spectrum as possible.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where P is honestly fine, and it's not that bad, and I actually quite enjoyed it once I learned how to play against it in standard. But at the same time, it just evokes such misery.
Yeah, absolutely. For now, OF running through R&D, abusing the fact that Knight from Chess is not spending the credit, doesn't have the credits to res that Eyes, and finding a Blood in the Water, so potentially going all the way to 5 points, checking it right away, using the extra card in the grip to clear the current and tank the damage, and only having to discard 1. So still 9 more cards to play in the stack.
I mean, so Knight from Chess still doesn't have the credits to Reza Kakugo, so these keyholes are probably free. Oh, ow.
That's an annoying one for sure. That's 2 damage you can't exactly avoid, and we'll see if OF can find a way to trash that ice. And looks like the Gachapon fails to find anything, so 3 more cards are not going to be available. You have to shuffle back the Laborites, I would expect, so you have some amount of recursion.
That's really rough.
Yeah, the Katorga is also something that you really like, but everything else is not terribly useful and something you have to remove 3 more cards. So getting through this Anemone a few times maybe to get Keel, to find the points with Keel, is is going to be quite a tough position for F to play through.
Knight from Chess here, allowing a 15-15 a very gracious take back on the Gashmore because technically perfect knowledge of the deck was had. And therefore, a 15-15 knew that just technically would know that was not a good choice for them to make. But
makes sense here. Shuffling the deck and just making sure the cards go back. There's no variance in the use of that Gachapon, so OF gets to keep 3 more cards in the deck, and now probably will run again, obviously with the Keel, and will have to take the same or some kind of damage when Knight from Chess reses the Anemone.
So
classic fix, hand fix on the on JNet.
yeah, it's one of the things that I remember when I was first learning Netrunner, the fact that JNet, a lot of it you kind of have to do manually and things like that, or you can accidentally do things manually that you shouldn't be able to, was frustrating. But the more that I started to play Netrunner seriously and competitively, the more I'm very grateful that JNet lets you break the rules a little bit, if that makes sense. Oh, House of Knives. Was this not a keyhole run?
I
before?
believe we'll have to we'll go back once again because I think that was definitely a keyhole run the first time around. I think the players will just go back and fix that one once again. No harm, no foul, I think, and just.
Oops, I did it again. Yeah, we've all done it. We've all had to redo it a click about 4 times because we keep making a small mistake or something like that in just the way we execute it. Like, especially in Eternal, things are so complicated and you've got so many things to sort of balance and remember and juggle. And I love Eternal. I don't think it's as complicated as people worry it is, but it is a little bit tricksy sometimes.
Yeah, it's something also that we would be missing if we didn't have the replay. I think it's a very funny thing that people always obviously end up encountering all the time.
And so, the Anemone here is going to be doing a lot of work if 15-15 doesn't find a quick way of finding a solution for it, because that's 1 extra net damage every single time a 15-15 tries to keyhole, which is such an important way to deal with Knight from Chess's sort of game plan here.
Yeah, I would expect OF to find a way maybe to resuscitate one of the chisels or parasites to deal with the Anemone, so in a way to trash the ice so you don't have to take more damage.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Laborites now, and the Katorga as well, of course.
Now it looks like Laborites is the first option for OF, getting back looks like at least one parasite, probably the labor rights, I would assume. Yeah, and there you go. And the second parasite. Now, ideally, maybe installing it on R&D and using that Devil Charm.
Yeah, because I think Keyhole is just like the best shot F-15 has at winning here without just happening to die to little bits of damage on the way to a victory.
No agendas here, and you have to expect some amount of recursion might be on the board. So you might have to run archives, find the take away the House of Knives that I think is sitting in archives. For now, finding the Spin Doctor is quite important, although the other two cards are also quite appealing.
Oh yeah, but I think with the fact that we know there's an agenda in the bin and there's no clicks left, like you've just got to get rid of that Spin Doctor. Especially because that's the last Spin Doctor. So Knight from Chess would have to Museum of History the Spin Doctor back into the deck to then be able to draw it to then deal with it, which is, you know, too many things really.
That's the thing. Is that enough? Is that enough points?
I mean, that's 2 points in the bin, and we know the Spin Doctors aren't on the table. Yeah. There it is.
Barely surviving all the damage that's coming OF's way here, stealing the Sting, and then finding the House of Knives kill finally. I mean, getting through the all the possible traps and assets that PE has on the board, and just sniping out enough points to win the game.
Keyhole definitely sort of an MVP here in this matchup, where it lets you not have to deal with taking the damage when you can't take it, and letting you sort of take it when you can, if that makes sense. Putting it in archives and letting you plan around it in a much better way. But yeah, there we go, with 2 cards left as well.
Yeah, getting very, very close to the end, managing to get by just the very skin of its teeth. Let's see the flip side of this matchup, as I think Knight from Chess is, if I can find it, there it is. Knight from Chess is running a Wizard playing against Ob. One of the matchups that has been like a very classic matchup of Eternal. This combo kill Ob we've seen out of OF, playing against a Wizard that can help, like the ID that can help deal with some of the assets early, probably slow down Ob the most. And with access to Clan Vengeance, it might be just enough to prevent OF from winning the game, or at least slowing it down enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's that Clan Vengeance just being able to pop it after after the tags are given, and just hoping you get rid of their kill in hand is so valuable. So really, this is a game about getting that Clan Vengeance up and ticking as fast as possible, really.
For now, OF with the defensive posture, 3 eyes on the board, something that once you res it is probably res forever, and it will fuel the mutual assured destruction for a while. But giving some time to Knight from Chess to just set up, install maybe the Rezeki that's in their hand, and just set up a little bit to prepare to face off against what's to come. And I find really interesting the privileged access that we see in the runner's hand right now. Very interesting include to bring back some of the key cards in the heap, potentially a Clan Vengeance. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I like Clan Vengeance is such a clutch card in so many of Wiz's matchups. Like, it's your best bet at beating CI. It's your best bet at beating combo decks in general. Okay, well, Employee Strike didn't last long.
We've seen last week OF using pivots to find more currents to clear Employee Strikes and maybe rumor mills. So it doesn't surprise me that and aggressive currents comes down. But yeah, employee strike is something that can stop Ob for a while, and very key for OF to clear that current out and use the effect of the corp once again.
Absolutely. And we've got this is a pretty good board state for Knight from Chess. It's got 2 Clan Vengeances in hand. It's got a Banhar on the table, as they're on the table. This is just Clan Vengeance counters the dream, really. So being able to combo out from behind that is going to be so difficult for our 15-15.
Yeah, the cards then are anything but safe. We've seen OF using the pivot just last turn to find the next current. And now with the Estelmun on the board, OF is probably trying to buff up as much of the hand as possible to ideally combo off before all the Clan Vengeance hit such a high amount of counters that Knight from Chess can just press the trigger whenever they want to and clear the combo operations away from OF.
I think one of the really horrible things here for us 15-15 is that like you can't at this point you can't res ice. Because if you res ice, you're adding more counters to the Clan Vengeance, at which point you can't combo. And if you can't res the ice, it's going to be so much harder to mad. And so it's this sort of catch-22 of how do you combo out with these 2 Clan Vengeances on the table is a puzzle. You probably need to be able to threaten to combo twice, which is, not an easy thing to do. This is a dream board state, I think, for Wiz.
Yeah, Knight is definitely in a commanding position right now, especially because if you can't res the ice, as you said, the credits on Wizard are going to help massively trashing whatever is behind the unres ice. So for now, OF deciding to res the Turgite, getting a single ping, fueling a little bit the two Clan Vengeances, but maybe keeping Knight just on low enough cards that they feel maybe a little bit scared running, but the prevention, the disruption on the combo is definitely there. Drudgework shuffling away one of the agendas, another classic card that we've seen in OBS for a while, especially the Eternal one, using a second one to just put away an SSL and using the payload implementation to clear the current once again. 10 credits, plays 3, 0 points on both sides, but the cards in the moment are very important, are those 2 Clan Vengeances.
Wiz having 3 credits every turn against assets is always just so brutal to watch. It's just so much value stapled on one ID. And granted, like, in some matchups, those 3 credits are going to do very little. But boy, Wiz sure was an ID.
Yeah, the matchups where the Wizards credits do matter are the ones where Wizards just crushing people, because that's so much value that just not. And I don't think there's any other ID that can generate the same amount of pressure for free for just running and touching the cards. And Ob, especially these kind of kill Ob, needs the cards in the board to generate value and also be the sacrificial cards for Mitchell's Distraction, and just being able to trash one of them for free every turn is going to push the balance in favor of the runner quite heavily. For now, OF has a lot of credits and is fighting back quite valiantly, but the Clan Bench is growing, and all the money that Nafrich is saving by trashing all the cards with Wizard are going to probably add up in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we're at the point now where 15-15, like, if we can get to the point where we only need to use 1 Clan Vengeance to stop the combo, then 15-15 would need to present threat of comboing 3 times in order to get out from behind it, which I think, I mean, maybe if we can get away. Actually, no, because with the tags you can then trash it, so it's not quite that bad. This is, I don't know, there's 14 Clan Vengeance counters.
I think OF's best chance here, as you mentioned, is possibly firing off a big enough mutual assert distraction that you just clear. You can trash. You can take a turn to trash the Clan Vengeance and still find a way to win. Or the other thing is that Knife Vengeance might be forced to use the Clan Vengeance early, like we've seen here. They pop the first one. The second one I'm expecting will probably stick on the table for a lot longer. But if all of them get cleared for any reason, then OF has maybe the green light to fire off the combo. But for now, there's still this massive 7 cards that can be trashed from HQ at any point that are just preventing them from comboing off.
I wonder if, because Knight from Chess is a bit credit poor now, I wonder if there's enough ice in the ob deck to just jam some ice and try and score out behind a remote. I wonder if we can pivot to that on the corp side, like just traditional Netrunner.
I mean, SDS, like I think Knife Vengeance, as long as they have that single Rezeki, SDS can be stolen. But yeah, it would be an option when you're cornered in a position where you just can't combo off. It is the classic ob switcheroo of like trying to push these massive 5-3s that you have no way of scoring very well all the way in your score area, but your opponent is not prepared for that kind of game plan. And here Knife Vengeance does not have any credits to break through big ice, or at least some ice, and has no programs on the board to actually break those.
Yeah, we need double ice server and just install advanced gaming. At this point, I think, if we're going to get out from behind this.
One unfortunate thing is that the tour guide, the only face-up ice that OF has, currently has 0 subroutines and would not protect any agendas that get pushed behind it. So you would need at least a second piece of ice and probably something else so that the innermost is actually somewhat threatening. Because the banker can get through any ice for now, and the innermost 0 subroutines tour guide is not defending anything.
Ironically, a 0 subroutine tour guide would be a really nice outermost to have in front of another piece of ice, because it would blank the Banhar in terms of gaining you more Clan Vengeance. Not that more Clan Vengeance counters matter at this point. And then you'd have to break through the piece of ice behind it, which would actually be quite a fun way to manufacture a slightly more sort of, what's the word? A board state that can counter what's going on the runner side, but I think we might be a bit past that.
No points on the in Arcas right now. We've seen only a single kill operation. There's a single high-profile target in there, so OF 1515 probably shuffling some of those back with the preemptive action. Resignar Dredgework, ideally, I think, shuffling away some more points, getting some more credits. And just hiding one more SSL in the deck. For now, it feels like Knife Vengeance is fairly happy just taking that single point of damage, accessing the Dredgework, keeping the board clear, and making sure nothing sneaky happens. And finally getting the time to draw a few more cards, get a few more possible cards that you can lose from the banker damage. Would OF just spam the board with assets?
Now, knowing Knight from Chess very well, being, in quotes, very close meta mates, I am aware that its favorite way to play Netrunner is to create a toxic board state where the corp can't push, and where instead of actively winning, watching its opponent lose. And so it just sort of durdling here, doing a little bit of setup, drawing some cards, just keeping that Clan Vengeance is a very classic thing for it to be doing.
So we can expect a bit of a cat playing with its prey here as the news slowly gets stricter and stricter on OF's side, with trashing a boot camp. And we have 11 credit counters now on Clan Vengeance, so even the double size HQ right now would not survive the sheer amount of counters that we have on the resource.
Yeah, this is a CI defeating Clan Vengeance, and it's up against OB. truly. But 1515 still has 21 cards in R&D, and there's no agendas in Night from Justice Courier, no agendas in Archives. There's still a good chance that I think they can pull something out here, find a way to, I think, score out of a remote. But then Night from Justice credits keep going up. So the ability to score out of a remote keeps going down. It's a really tricky board state.
Ooh, Malia getting res here, blanking the banker, protecting itself basically. And we'll see if that ends up being something that OF can leverage. And never mind, it gets easily overridden by the second banker from hand.
It's just rude. Oh dear.
And Mali, I think one of the few ways that OF has to like potentially stop the Clamp Vengeance on board from interrupting the combo. It's something that some OP players are playing in 2 copies. I wouldn't expect any way to de-res this one, but there's a chance that OF just trashes the overinstalls the Malia and maybe finds a way to shuffle it back in R&D so that there's a possible combo line that just stops the single Clamp Vengeance on the board. And I wouldn't be shocked if Night from Justice just installs the second one and finds the quickest way possible to get enough counters on that to have like a second backup in just in case you need it for the Malia down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think seeing that Malia once as well, it's just get it ready. Although I think 1515 is going to struggle to keep a Malia on the board or keep anything on the board right now. Well, Jeeves again. See, here, Knight from Chess, at the very least, has to spend 2 real credits to trash that. Although, no current way to get through the...
It is a bit of a risky situation here, and yeah, NFN is forced to pop the Clamp Vengeance to prevent any mutually assured destruction into Malia blanking the big Clamp Vengeance and maybe getting the kill down. So playing a bit preemptive makes absolute sense, making sure there's no line to lose the game here. But losing that big Clamp Vengeance means OF has maybe a chance here to reassemble a combo if all the cards on top of R&D are the right ones.
Unfortunately, with a Resd Kessleroid Outermost on Server 1, that's a guaranteed 2 Clamp Vengeance counters on Night from Justice turn if they want them.
And getting
she's going for.
And getting the MK Ultra in Archives, or sorry, in the heap rather, means that they can just break through the tour guide here and actually getting, as you said, paying a couple of credits to actually trash the Jeeves and diffusing the threat from OF once again.
Run out of stack, but there's same old thing ready to get Levy back. It's just insurmountable. It feels. I mean, I said I'm very used to Night from Chess doing this to me, where you just get presented with a board state that just feels so difficult to crawl out from underneath. But I think if anyone can do it, OF 1515 is probably the person.
Yeah, OF here trying their best, honestly, fighting through this hard Clamp Vengeance lock, and honestly being presented in a few situations where there's a chance to force Night from Chess from making a mistake. Maybe present a possible line where Night from Chess has to preemptively pop the Clamp Vengeance, and now the runner has to reset the stack, losing access to the losing access to the breakers, and now we don't have access to the same old thing for now as Malia blanks that one, and so Night from Chess forced to actually run through this, not being able to use banker to break the first one, although we've seen the runner with just enough credits to probably break through the whole server twice, even with the border control ability.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like that might be a 1515 just about like pulling off a way out from underneath this Wiz deck, because I mean, one card left is not enough to be able to really turn down any kill threat. But
now, OF buying themselves a turn where the runner is still on one card.
okay,
Let's see if we can capitalize on this one. For now, installing a moon, jamming 1 and an extra ice on top of server 1 to make sure Night just cannot get in server 1 for cheap. Although the extra credits you get from Rozeki definitely enough to break the few ice we have already. We'll see if the extra ice on server 1 is enough to stop the runner. For now, Knife just checking all the remotes. And we see 9 points in archives.
Oh my
Knife just finally pulling the trigger, running archives after blowing up HQ a couple of times and winning the game, presenting OF 1515 with their first loss.
wow. I mean, this is just, it's brutal to ruin 1515's perfect sweep, but also I have to say I think they had it coming. You got to lose sometime, and like winning every Eternal game is so difficult because sometimes you just get matchupped, and finally seeing the giant fall is slightly satisfying. I can't lie.
We've been waiting for a game where this Titan has to actually take the loss screen, but closing 17-1 is absolutely an incredible achievement. For now, let's jump into the next game. We'll talk about OF in a second after we're done with the games for today, but I want to focus on their last match of the day, which is Cediro playing against Augustus Caesar. These two are playing for a chance to challenge Jai for the second place, and we're starting it here with Cediro playing Liza into the kill ob of Augustus. A matchup that definitely isn't favored for Liza unless you can get ahead very early and find the kill protection.
Yeah, I mean, in phase 2, we saw this same matchup, but where I was piloting Liza into Augustus on Ob, and sometimes you just don't find paparazzi, and you just kind of die. Obviously, Liza kind of doing Ob's job for it, just taking a bunch of tags.
Yeah, you definitely want to play a little bit more careful as Liza in this matchup, which is not exactly what the ID wants to do. But finding 3 points on top of R&D right away is definitely skillful accessing, as Augustus is putting it. Great way to start a game if you think you have a bad matchup.
Yeah, I think part of me would have been tempted to just. I always remember one of the first sort of games of Netrunner I remember watching on stream was Worlds 2024, or 2025, and it was Dia versus Soccer, and just seeing, just access R&D 3 times in a row, win the game. Touch cards win games, and so I feel like had I been in Cidero's shoes, I probably would have slightly greedily run back on R&D just to see if, the gods of Netrunner decided to favor me that day.
Yeah, not impossible here. Instead, Cediro checking the remote, trashing a copy of Commercial Bankers Group, and then sending in another run event on R&D, trashing the Advanced Assembly Lines. They would have probably found Augustus and a copy of Rashida down the line, and installing a Fall Guy. So passing with 5 cards and then 1 tag. Not enough for Augustus to win the game as of yet, but probably signaling that Cediro is looking to keep some of these tags, just build up towards the counter surveillance, and ideally find the kill protection before Augustus can find the kill operation instead. For now, CVS finds a Stealth Moon, and we'll see Augustus probably installing a few cards. Yeah, nice protecting the Stealth Moon so you can buffer it up, put more counters on it next turn, and another card on server 3. And Cediro ideally challenging right away and having to faceplant into the tour guide.
Yeah, it's a tricky one here, really, isn't it? And like again, we're taking another tag here. So there's a wireless net pavilion, which at least will help keep the fall guy on the table. Um, it's you just 50 cards, and I don't know how many copies of Paparazzi Sid Rose playing. I think my version of the deck was on 3, although every time I played the deck, I just wished I'd cut down to 2 Paparazzis, because I never seem to find them in the matchups that matter. And but you should keep the Paparazzis. The Paparazzis are very important for exactly these matchups. So we appear to be on 9 Siphon Liza here. We've got Transfer, Account Siphon, and we've got Doof.
Yeah, and the single vanilla air means that Sidira will be able to start siphoning Augustus a lot next turn. And Augustus, instantly over-installing the ice on HQ, making sure that there's at least some ambiguity on whether Sidira can get in. The other silver lining for the Corp is that Estelle Moon can just keep some of the credits safe inside the remote, and the Enigma on HQ means Sidira has to find a decoder now to fire off all these siphons.
Yeah, and like I know a lot of the Liza decks don't really include any draw, because why would you, other than maybe like a class act, because you have Liza to draw. And so having to take tags to get the draw that's in your deck, to draw through your 50 card deck against a Corp deck that's trying to kill you through tags, it's slightly tricky to puzzle your way through that on runner side for certain.
Yeah, it is a bit of a catch-22 there for sure. Not being able to draw, using your card to draw to find the cards to protect you from taking tags, without having actually take tags with Liza. For now, Augustus firing off the advanced assembly lines before the start of turn, setting down the Rashida and using it to draw 3 and gain 3 credits. So all the great op shenanigans that the ID can just do in this format.
Ob in Eternal is really interesting. And like I'm kind of hoping at some point that I see someone brew an Ob that isn't the sort of the Mad Combo. I'm sure someone has done, but unfortunately I've only ever played against the Mad Combo, because it's in Standard you see quite a few different builds of Ob where like people utilize the tutors in different ways. And obviously with Eternal you have so many cards that you can choose from on the ladder, and I want to see if someone really pulls something wild out of the bag one day, and unexpected with Ob in the tournament. I think that would be very exciting.
Yeah, Ob has an infinite amount of possibilities, and like all the cards in the past that could self-trash to find something, do something else, are definitely making the idea a lot more dynamic. Even an idea as dynamic as Ob just gets even more interesting and has a lot more moving pieces when the card pool expands outside of Standard.
But we're starting to see real danger zones coming for Sidero. We have 5 servers, 2 resed ice, and a base 3 tags, and there's a Mad, and we don't have a cup or any way of trashing it at this second. So I think we might be in trouble, but we should have to wait and find out. Because I mean, if Augustus doesn't have the actual kill piece of the kill combo, then we're safe for a bit longer.
Yeah, CDR here was definitely at a crossroad in between 2 possibilities: taking more and more tags, just going tag me, and hoping that Augustus cannot find the high-profile target, or like CDR decided to do, clear the tag and force Augustus to go through the full combo. With the Reds Jeeves, I think there might be a more of a consideration for both options, because Augustus here, we know, is in a position where he can just fire off the combo as soon as he finds the high profile target anyway. But Sidero is deciding to go for the safe line and keeping maybe a bit of a buffer in between dying from a single click.
Yeah, I think Sidero is definitely playing this matchup better than being a lot more considerate, a bit slower, a bit more, not just feeding the tags straight to Augustus for free.
For now, slamming into the border control, we have Curb here to break through that, but we know for a fact that Ob will find something, deciding to just break the underrun and possibly give the credit back. We don't expect the Curb here trigger to be particularly important for the rest of the game, which makes absolute sense. Ob not known for the big barriers that Augustus will install down the line. Just keeping that on and finding the high profile target on top. Now I think here starts a mini game of I know the top card of the deck and I really don't want to draw it, and so we'll see if Sidero can find a way to force Augustus to use that Ob and shuffle the cards away without giving away the fact that the game is probably on top of R&D right now.
Yeah, I wonder if we have enough cards in archives to try and run archives to get Augustus to perhaps shuffle. Looks
like we're just clearing the tag, but I think with the high profile target in hand and the mutual distraction we've seen Augustus draw a little earlier, there might be just enough of the correct few operations for Augustus to win if the Corp decided not to pitch the Mad out earlier, and that's exactly what happens. The Mad calms down, 4 more tags come on the runner who's now on 6, 1 more clicks from the Jeeves, and Augustus is 1 button away from winning the game when the high profile target calms down and clears and flatlines the runner.
Oh, it is. It's such a scary matchup for Liza, where you have three cards in your deck, which in combination with about 4 other cards in your deck might save you. But it's finding those cards in time and not dying in the process of finding those cards is so difficult. And good on Sidero for getting as far as he did. Before being shot to death. And it looks like we have Sidero also on Ob. So let's see how this goes.
Sidero facing off against the Blink guys that Augustus has been piloting throughout the whole season. One of the definitely one deck that is a lot of fun seeing all the triggers go off, all the value that guys and deck triggers can generate. And for now, a generally okay starting hand, probably not the best when you want to deal with a board full of assets. But we'll see what Augustus' line are throughout the game.
I mean, we definitely can't complain about a turn 1 tech trader in Geist at the very least, because the last thing you want is to not have to dig for that. Obviously, one of the nice things about Geist is quite difficult to kill with all of the draw, instant speed draw. Meaning the number of tags that Sidero is going to have to deal to Augustus, assuming Sidero is also a mad kill, is quite a lot higher, depending on how set up Augustus is.
For now, Sidero assembling the best value possible, using the Markiel to find a vanilla to protect. The Estelle Moon makes a ton of sense, and Augustus using the Blink and the Northward Lunge to get 1 more card off of the stack, and possibly considering playing that Employee Strike, one of the many cards we've seen Augustus play after getting completely bodied by the scarcity of resources earlier in the league.
Yeah, I have to say, I think I really like the fact that Augustus went to putting in 3 extra cards, because that was something I found trying to play Geist, is that you just lose the scarcity in such a horrible way. And just saying, fine, I'll just put even more currents in my deck is probably the correct answer. And I think good on Augustus for realizing that.
Yeah, sometimes the way to beat that one current you just can't play through is play a few more currents. We've seen CIs play archive memories just to find more currents to stop employee strike from happening. And I guess they're doing the same for now, firing off the diversion of funds, stealing some of the credits away. Although Sidero has access to that Estelle Moon, it will probably be able to bounce back quite easily. Finding the second Rashida, trashing it off before Sidero can get the extra value.
We've got Mistbones now, though, in hand, which is going to be very helpful in terms of keeping up with these assets. Mistbones being, I suppose, technically the most credits you can click for on a single card, if you look at it in a slightly strange way.
Yeah, you have to work a little bit to get that value out of the card, but 10 credits is definitely a lot of value that you can't compare with almost any other card in the game.
Oh yeah.
Right now, I guess it's shutting down Ob once again, but the amount of counters on Estelle Moon keeps on growing, and that has to be a little bit concerning. Not having access to Ob at least means that Sidero does not have an easy access to Jeeves right away. But you have to think that Augustus here is trying to find a way to trash that Estelle Moon, or at least force Sidero to use it, so that he doesn't get comboed out of existence in just a couple of turns.
Yeah, absolutely. And like even in Augustus' hand right here, we see like there's not actually any instant speed trashables in hand to even install to give a relatively early protection against a combo kill. No instant speed draw available, meaning that Augustus needs to get more set up, get more stuff down, and if he's going to survive much longer into the game.
Yeah, you mentioned something really important, is that Guise is famously very hard to kill. Every single trashable card on the board can equate to one more card in the hand. So after the mutual distraction, you can just pop a lot of cards on your board, draw a bunch of cards, and maybe insulate yourself from the damage the Hyperfile Tiger will do. And so Sidero might need to have a lot of face-up cards to trash to the Mad to make sure this doesn't happen. But for now, Augustus does not have a lot of cards that can draw that instant speed card, and so right now facing a bit of a tough situation where the Jeeves and all the face up can currently generate enough tags to kill him, and we'll see what happens as soon as Sidero plays his last click and passes the turn back to Augustus.
I get the feeling Mistbones is going to pull a lot of weight on this turn, as we see 4 cards come down, one of which being an Estelle, but that Jeeves is not protected by ice. And so this is almost definitely going to be an immediate click for 10 credits, pretty much.
Gotta love the roll/roll3 to decide which server to check first. I'm expecting Augustus to definitely trash the Jeeves in a second. But for now, decides to check some of the face down servers before deciding whether or not to actually use the credits on Jeeves.
Yeah, I mean, you know the Jeeves is there. You can leave Jeeves to your last click. So I think getting the other information first makes a lot of sense. The Jeeves is the one thing in the board that doesn't change. Can't change here. Ooh, exciting. Actions.
Malia shutting down the...
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Shutting down the Estelle Moon, but Augustus has a chance to pop the no free lunch before actually having to pay the trash cost for the Malia. So Sidero slowing down the Mistbones, but Augustus is ready with the counter right back to trash it and gain access to those 12 credits we're talking about on the Mistbones.
Yeah, and like Also, importantly, that's one less piece of instant speed draw that 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 Geist has available. Just SDS, always so horrible to see an SDS when you have no programs installed.
No way for Augustus to steal that one. Two programs in hand, but two that I'm pretty sure Augustus really wants to keep for something else later. So that SDS might sit on the board for a while. CDRO has no intention to score that one like anytime soon. But installing it just to get the extra Estelle Moon value is good, and maybe there's a chance that in the future we'll just ice it up and then advance it just to force the runner to do something and potentially trash some key programs if that ends up being necessary.
Yeah, but at the very least, we've slowed the combo down. We've trashed Jeeves. We've hopefully got a little bit of breathing room. Preemptive action. Preemptive action here, is that influence or points that's causing us to not be able to play Spin Doctor or Jackson in the Ob deck? I'm not that as familiar with the Ob deck as I probably should be.
The Op is very tight on points. The ID is expensive. Mad is also points, and Estelle Moon is also worth 3 points as well. So you're down to basically bare bones recursion, and I think that's why preemptive action and sprint show up so frequently in Op, is that you just don't have the points, the eternal points, to afford more reactive recursion. You have to use your slots on preemptive actions and sprints, for example.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, with Street Peddlers and coming down here, those are really nice for that instant speed draw we were talking about earlier, because if that Street Peddler has another card you can trash on it, then you've got 2 draws out of 1 card there. And we've got 2 of those on the table now immediately. So the setup for Unkillable Geist is definitely getting closer.
Yeah, also keeping the cards face down means CDRO has to kind of gamble about how many cards the runner will be able to draw. So you might see CDRO going for a line that's not safe and might fail if Augustus has enough trashable cards on those Street Peddlers, or we might see CDRO slow down and build up a kill line that's safe even through all those possible extra cards. But that might take a turn or 2 more, which is time that Augustus can use to challenge the board and potentially steal points.
Yeah, so right now for a perfect kill that accounts for everything, we'd have to trash 10 cards with Mad in order to get enough. No, sorry, HBT is 2 per tag, isn't it? So 5 cards, which I mean is kind of doable, especially with now 3 resed ice. Yeah, I really need to learn my Wayland Eternal cards better.
It gets quite confusing sometimes. For now, Augustus installing the decoder that gets through that Enigma quite easily, finds the Executive Bootcamp, trashes it before CDRO has a chance to find another Jeeves, and installing a Fractor means Augustus has pretty much access to any server right now except the ones protected by tour guides, except for example HQ.
We are struggling a bit for credits though on runner side, and Hand isn't looking especially helpful on that. Obviously, we've got an implicit at least minimum 1 credit on the table because of Tech Trader and Street Peddler. But again, each credit we get from that is 1 less instant speed draw. So it's
definitely unfortunate that the Shibboleth that Augustus needed to get in that server was also on the same Street Peddler that was holding 2 Fall Guys. So a lot of value that Augustus would have loved to be able to install at least part of, to get another Guides draw and another credit from Tech Trader. For now, CDRO going for the combo, trashing 4 cards, putting Augustus on 4 tags, and the Street Peddler installs
Removes a tag.
Yeah, and the Northrend removes the tags and puts Augustus on 7 cards, so safe from Mischievous Distraction and potentially safe from in high profile target next turn.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was very, and we've got a stone chip ready as well in hand that we can use to do even more damage. For that we've got that was very, very nicely done.
Stone Chip's going to save Augustus one more turn if necessary, and the Account Siphon on Blink means that Augustus can just drain down Sidro once again. We'll see if that's the line that he decides to take. It would equate to 2 more tags, so not exactly the safest position to be on, but one position there where Sidro would not be on a lot of credits, and with the ID shut down by Employee Strike, a lot of the avenues for Sidro to bounce back are kind of stopped already. And yeah, we see Click 1 firing off the Account Siphon, draining the Corp all the way down, going all the way to 5 credits, and now probably having to remove some of these tags with just basic actions.
Yeah, I mean, importantly, I think here, like, that gives us the credits to remove the tags while Sidero can't afford to HPT.
Yeah, absolutely key situation for Augustus. Deciding whether to keep 3 tags or not, decides to play it safe, removes the 2 extra tags, has to discard 2 more cards. But now 0 credits on the Corp side, no face-up cards, a single ice installed on server 8. And while Augustus still is on 2 tags and might be in trouble if Sidro had more credits, it is definitely a runner leading position for now.
Yeah, there's no board. I mean, we still have 25 cards left in R&D. There's definitely still the time, if Sidro is lucky, to build back up, reassemble combo. But that was a rough sort of whiff on the kill, unfortunately, for Sidero there.
Great attempt, honestly. Almost working out. I think Augustus needed either a Stone Chip Chart Room or a North Lunge on the Street Peddler to save himself. But now definitely a hard position to play from for Sidero. Not a lot of avenues to play from, and we'll see if Augustus can keep the pressure on with that second Account Siphon and maybe finding more points, or if Sidero can build up again and potentially threaten another combo. More protection comes down, Blink triggers and finds a spy camera, but Augustus is not interested in installing that one, instead clearing the tags, going down to 2 credits, so very low, but in a very safe position for now.
Yeah, and if Sidero sort of spends time trying to gain credits without icing HQ, then those credits just go straight to Augustus Caesar with that Account Siphon in hand. We've got Wake as well to further capitalize on HQ runs and perhaps start building a bit of a win con.
Sidero here in the tank, 7 cards in hand, 2 credits to play with. Any credits you gain, as you said, is potentially going to Augustus, doubled by the Account Siphons until you put an ice that's big enough, or at least successful enough at stopping the runner's attempt to access HQ. For now, Sidero installs something in server 8 and then just clicks for another credit, goes all the way to 3, and Augustus Click 1 instantly decides to attack server 8, goes through the ice unres and accesses whatever is inside, finding the Stell Moon, something that Sidero would definitely love to be able to use to get a bit of money and cards back in circulation.
Well, that's a nice run. Although Basilisk Bow, at the very least, letting Sidero tutor back from the bin, recur back from the bin, important combo pieces that were lost in attempting to combo out earlier. But also meaning that Augustus Caesar needs to find 4 more points to win, and with Awake starting to tick up and Sidero being low on credits, it's going to be tricky to crawl out from underneath this.
Sidero opting for Rashida as the recursion of choice, as we see holding a high profile target in hand. And damn it, I think that's the second time Bling triggers finding another crowdfunding card that you don't really have to install right away. We'll see if Augustus wants to spend the click to install it, or just let the natural effect of Bling trash it and then install it later with 3 clicks. So quite an effective, quite a powerful effect on Bling when triggers this way.
Yeah, with Awake on the table, I think Augustus is probably pretty happy to do 3 runs most turns at the second.
Yeah,
or at least
absolutely.
next turn.
The one unfortunate thing is that the trigger for crowdfunding to come back and the trigger for Bling to trash the card happen simultaneously, and so you wouldn't be able to install a crowdfunding you trashed with Bling at the same time. But I don't think Augustus is particularly worried about that. For now, targeted marketing coming down, clearing the employee strike, and we'll see what CDR ends up naming.
I think crowdfunding is probably a pretty pretty safe bet, knowing that crowdfunding is about to go into the heap and then probably come out on the table next.
Yeah, it would definitely slow down the return of crowdfunding a little bit more now. CDR thinking really hard about what to name here. The other options here could be an account siphon if you think that might happen. So Augustus is very disincentivized to just use it to gain money, because it would give the runner more credits than the one they would lose.
That's fair. I didn't realize targeted marketing worked off of plays as well as installs. In my head, I was only thinking about installables.
Yeah, the classic one back in the days was, I think, calling Sure Gamble, because that's the one card you know for sure is in practically everybody's deck.
Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah, targeted marketing is I think such a fun card in terms of just like, especially if you want to get really quick things or just disincentivize something that you know that the runner wants to do immediately.
It is, I found, also very effective against World Tree in particular, because you know they'll have to go through Coalescence and World Tree a bunch of times, possibly going to install 1 or more copies of self-modifying code. So any of those cards you name will either slow down the runner to a crawl or get you like 10 to 30 credits and maybe enough value that you can res your eyes and keep the runner out. So interesting inclusion for Ob for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that makes sense. One of the ways to clear it, I assume Sidero is probably taking a look at the heap, seeing how many copies of Employee Strike are there, and knowing that Augustus Caesar is running that many copies of different currents.
Yeah, calling also the correct current in hand for Augustus is quite a skillful decision here. So because it's not very incentivized to use it to clear the current, and so not getting the extra credit denial from the install on crowdfunding. For now, running the server 8 where we know there's a Rashida, and forcing possibly the corp to pop it just to defend the necessary asset to bounce back. Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. CDRO using the border control to just find another ice, slow down the runner just a little bit more, or never mind, instead going for a CVS, so splitting the attention for the runner who only has 1 click, trashing the Rashida, but probably being able to find the last copy of Estelle Moon with that CVS.
You know, at the same time, yeah. So we got Estelle Moon, which is a really good piece. Yeah, we get Estelle Moon with CVS, which is a really good piece of econ recovery, which Sidero desperately needs currently with what is essentially 0 board state, 0 credits. So we're just seeing him draw first click.
The CVS pop in between first and second click. Sidirow here contemplating his option. Stelmoon, if there's still more in the deck, is definitely up there. And instead going for the dredge work, another way to gain a lot of credits really quickly and hide some of the agendas that he might have on HQ, although that could definitely trigger the account siphon in hand and drain the corp all the way back to 0 again.
I mean, the thing with Wake on the table is that the agendas just don't feel safe no matter where they are, because Augustus is incentivized to run HQ to get Wake counters and is going to multi-access R&D. So really the agendas just feel dangerous in every location, unfortunately.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Definitely a lot of pressure on the from the runner side. You don't feel safe with agendas anywhere where you don't have any ice, and as you said, the multi-access on R&D is just more ways for Augustus to find the agendas quickly. Sidirow finding the Excalibur, putting it on HQ, at least somewhat limiting the amount of counters that that Wake implant can get every turn.
Yeah, that's definitely quite good. I mean, granted, 3 Wake counters is the optimal number of Wake counters at the very least, so there's a chance here, hopefully, that, well, from Augustus' perspective, that he can hopefully just win off of one run down R&D.
Yeah, it makes sense. For now, at least, it means that the runner cannot gain more counters, or at least cannot run through HQ, pop the copulation, and then access R&D. It will probably have to go through a different line. And we're seeing in here 2 clicks left. Now contemplating their options, and Augustus clicking the run on R&D, touching 4 cards, finds a mutual distraction, an NAPD that they cannot steal, and an SDS. So Augustus knows that there's a the win is on the top of R&D, second card from the top. He cannot find it with Wake, but Sidirow will draw the first card, so the NAPD will be on the top of R&D, and we'll see what happens here, because Augustus cannot find it now. He doesn't have the extra token on the extra counter on Wake to touch it, and so he's just missing a couple of credits.
Absolutely. So Augustus kind of has to hope here that Sidirow neither ob shuffles nor draws twice. But I mean, with 1 credit and no ob shuffle on the table, assuming that Sidirow doesn't have a bunch of agendas in hand, I think it's unlikely that Sidirow. There goes the NAPD.
It made sense. I liked your reasoning behind it, but instead Sidirow looking for something to play, finds the NAPD and instantly puts it back in the deck for 2 credits, thanks to the dredge work. Now draws 1 more card, 7 in hand, has to discard 2 more, and I guess there's no access, doesn't have access to multi-access right now, but I'm sure we'll probably look at R&D and see what we find at least once.
Yeah, and then you can just, after this, you can just do HQ, or just win.
And he finds the agenda right away, single click, no needs for the extra access from the Wake implant this time around. And that spells the end of the game and the end of our league for now. Or I mean, at least the end of the league. Week 9 is over. This was our last match. Augustus takes the 2-0 over Sidirow, and the only sweep for the week.
Wow, yeah, it was. I suppose there's a lot of splits.
Yeah, all the players playing very well. So the all the games went all all the possible ways. All Negas manages to catch the sweep for now. And we have our final standings. Here on your screen, folks, we have this is the wrong one. Apologies. Here's your actual standings. There you go. Standings as of the end of week 9. We have OF 15-15, as you would expect, on 45.7 sweeps and 1 single split. So a total of 15 wins out of 16 games played. Augusta Caesar with the final sweep manages to clinch second place with 30 points, beating Jai by just 1 single win. Jai obviously taking the 3rd place here in the league. And then we have Knight from Chess, Toron, and Sidero as 4th, 5th, and 6th, qualifying for the next phase, or not the next phase, but a possible next season, when that will happen in the future. Unfortunately for our last 3 players, including you, Dungeon Master, we have Mezzy, Dungeon Master, and Ace Empress in 7th, 8th, and 9. I'm sure we love to have you all here, and I'm sure some of you, or we hope most of you, will try to qualify once again next year if you feel like it. I hope you had fun.
I'll certainly do my best. Absolutely.
Awesome.
It's been a great time.
Before I say goodbye, we have a special guest here. We have a final, very quick interview with our league winner, OF 15-15. Say hi. So tell the stream how you're doing, OF.
Hello there. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you loud
I'm
and
a bit
loud and
tired. Awesome. I'm a bit tired because I was skiing all day, but I'm very happy to be here.
Wonderful. We could brief then. Well, I'm not gonna keep you too long, but I wanted to know, like, how are you feeling? How was the league? What's the secret behind this massive win streak, and how do you prepare each phase? Tell us, like, unveil a little bit of the secrets behind your incredible performance.
So my usual process for ESL is picking decks. Sometimes I actually play them before, but that sadly has not happened every time. For example, for the first round, I mostly picked 2 decks from Netrunner DB, your Nuclear Wu, and I think Mazzy's Nebula. And like, I think that the slots I changed were also suggested in the write-ups. So there was not too much magic there. And for the other phases, I just took out the factions I haven't played yet, looked at the corps, looked what looks good, what could I maybe expect for the meta, and then just took something that looked fun and also usually pretty good into what I expected the other players to play.
Wonderful. So a bit of prediction on what to find, and also an important note, something I totally missed, is that you just played 6 different factions throughout the league, which is definitely impressive. Some people really love honing down on the same deck, but you just went around and tried a bit of everything, maybe to confuse your opponents, but also to just enjoy the different thing of the meta, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think Eternal has so many super cool decks, and I enjoy playing so many of them. I mean, there are so many different types of combo, and I love combo. So I would be a bit sad if I could only play one of those combos at a time. So I try to take some different ones. Like, I had a scoring deck, I had a hybrid deck with Nebula, and a kill deck with Orb, for example, this league. So I just try to get the full side of what's possible in Eternal, also as another point to show the people out there what you can and do in Eternal, and you can do pretty much everything you want.
Awesome. And with all this variety, is there a deck that you think was your favorite throughout the season? Is there something that you were kind of regret not bringing back, or something you discovered at maybe the last phase that you wish you could bring earlier, like something that stuck with you as like something you had a lot of fun with?
I think in the past I've had a lot of fun with playing World Tree Woo, and I'm a bit sad I didn't bring the deck this time, but Nebula, not Nebula Woo, Nuclear Woo was also a lot of fun, and I actually enjoyed playing with that deck. But yeah, it meant that I couldn't, or like with my personal goal of bringing different factions, I couldn't bring World Tree Woo, which was a bit sad, but I hope the World Tree will stay reasonably pointed, so I can maybe play it next phase or something.
Yeah, World Tree does not look to be dead whatsoever. I think Toran has shown up with that every phase and has been tearing the league with it. That's for sure. Now we haven't played with Vantage Point cards just yet in the league, but I mean the set is out, and I know people around are already playing Eternal with Vantage Points. What are some of the cards that you think might impact the format the most out of the cards from the newest set?
I think the card that had me most hyped for playing the last phase with Vantage Point, which we didn't end up doing, was Hype Machine, because I love doing those many agendas, Arella, score all of them in one turn decks, and this card is like super perfect for them. It's like more copies of Calibration Testing, but you can rest them for free. So that had me kind of hyped. Also, I really think there will be some kind of outfit Glacier with the new bad publicity tools released. But other than that, I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm very, very happy to play more Eternal and see what the new meta brings.
That sounds great. I have just one last question for you. As people might not be aware of, but the prize for winning the league is an Altart, and with your potentially with your likeness on the card. Do you have any idea? Have you thought about what cards would you like to have an alt with your face on? Is there anything Eternal related, standard related, maybe what's your reasoning behind, or have you thought about it yet?
I have thought about it a bit, but I'm not sure yet what to pick. It might end up being Wage Workers, because I really, really love that card, and I would probably put that as my favorite card. There's nothing better than triggering Wage Workers 3, 4, 5 times in a turn. But yeah, I haven't decided yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, don't want to rush you, but wanted to pick your brain about it. And so we were looking forward to potentially a Wage Worker, potentially something else. But for now, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for answering our questions. And I think, do you have any shoutouts you want to run over before we cut off?
Yeah, and those go to you and Anarcho Mushroom first and foremost, because thank you so much for organizing this thing. It was a lot of fun to play, and also of course to all the other streamers keeping this thing a showcase of this very cool format. Yeah, also to all the other Netrunner players in this world keeping this game alive, to Torpedo Tyrus, or Tyrus now, to my testing group NWE, and yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful. And with that, folks, I think we've come to the end of our Season 2. ESL Season 2 ends here. You have your standings on your screen for the last time, and potentially we'll catch you maybe next year, maybe when Season 3 pops out. For now, keep playing Eternal, keep having fun, and